tomorrow night, 913-586-7965. The video stream up and running as well. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Easier for you to make sure you're not missing anything from our show, from Fesco and Dusty, or from The Drive. It'll be right there on the top of your YouTube page. So hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate that. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, we, of course, will go out to Arizona. We'll check in with Josh Vernier, our Royals insider, discuss what MJ Melendez continues to do in spring. And also, by then, maybe there's an update on Salvador Perez, who a little scare below the eye, a cut. Sounds like, it's not expected to be something like terrible, but you never know, man. It's spring training. It's
better than the guy who had to get an MRI because he stepped on a sprinkler.
That's such a baseball thing.
Of course it is. That happened like for a different team.
Was it the Cardinals?
Like a day or two ago.
Cardinals
I don't
player
remember.
maybe or something like that. But no, like you always worry about you have an injury near your eye, right? Like you start worrying about like a bone fracture, the orbital bone fracture or something like that. Hopefully that's not the case. But Vern will have the latest for us coming up a little bit later on. But let's get back to talking about the Chiefs, not the left tackle situation directly again, unless there's an update on that. As yesterday we spent a huge chunk of the show obviously discussing the Joe Thuney trade. But I'll ask you guys on the text line as well, what do you think, other than a move to go sign a Ronnie Stanley or somebody like that, what's the move the Chiefs need to make next? Let's take left tackle signing out of it for a second. What's the other priority for you move? It could be a trade. It could be a signing. Heck, it could just be a contract extension if you think they need to go take care of Trent McDuffie first. I don't think that'll happen for a while. Yeah, I think for them, at this point in time, if we're taking left tackle out of the equation, then I think it's actually getting something done with one of the veteran wide receivers. And I'm talking like even on not a mega deal, but I actually think Hollywood Brown could be, or Christian Kirk or one of these guys could get taken care of pretty early on in free agency. That would be my next move. That way I know that going into next season, before we draft, before we do anything else, I know I have my three receivers. Like, just be done with it. Get that solidified. Like, I can understand, like, make a decision on Nick Bolton. I guess you can count that as a move, letting him move. Unless you believe they need to sign him, I don't think there's a rush to get that done, because I think they're going to let Nick Bolton go and take a look at the market and find out, well, okay, he is worth what he thinks he's worth. Or
I don't think he's getting Zach Bond
he
money.
comes back to the table basically like, okay, you guys are kind of right. That is, unfortunate. That is what my value is. I don't think that's the first domino to fall. So I'll go wide receiver. I would like them to, whether it's bringing back Hollywood Brown or somebody else, if we're not going to discuss left tackle, I think that would be the move I would want.
I'm going to go off the board here a little bit for a name or a position you wouldn't necessarily think. But I think if you did this first, then there's no requirement in like a particular draft need. There's no requirement in a particular wide receiver need. Because like, if let's just say they didn't sign any of the veteran wide receivers that we're talking about that are at that level, right? Slayton or Hollywood or Kirk or any of those guys. Let's just say they didn't get anybody at that level of it, and they're just signing random vet things. Well, then that's further down the list, and the draft becomes more in play for wide receiver and kind of everything in between. I want them to sign one veteran corner. That is a position that is fine, and I'm fine to go back in the draft. It is not a disaster area, but if you can just shore it up enough that you can walk into the rest of the offseason, because that's how I feel about every other position group. The linebackers are sure enough. If they got one more corner, sure enough. Wide receivers, sure enough. Even if they don't go out on day one and get those guys, I want to be in a position that if I have to go into the season with just this and one drafted guy, I'll live my life. Versus right now, I feel like they're a man short there. Between Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, and the other random, I don't know, bring McCole Bartman back for a year, whatever, right? The guys who are lower on the wide receiver totem pole, I'm not worried that they can't walk into a season and play. And at corner, it's like, unless you're taking one in like the second round or third round, it's like, your body's short there. You just are, especially depending on what you do with Justin Reed, because then one of your other guys like Connor or Cook have got to play more safety and not down safety. And there's just a lot of moving parts. I think they need one more secondary piece. I would kind of make that priority day one. And then I'd probably get to the wide receiver, to your point, other than, again, we are eliminating left tackle from this conversation.
Right. Because that's obviously the first decision they have to make. I hear you on corner. I think it's something they're going to address. I wonder, though, remember, Jalen Watson was hurt for most of the season, and then he came back, and I don't think he was ever 100% by the time he started playing in the late season, postseason. Actually, I guess would have been the first time he was available was that Texans postseason, and he didn't even, he wasn't getting a bulk of the snaps in the first quarter. It took, as the game went on, for the snap count to get up there. for him. So I'm maybe not as down on heading into the season with McDuffie and Watson as my 1 and 2. I think you're right that they will address it one way or the other. You think it needs to be a veteran. I wouldn't mind them drafting another corner as well. I'm not saying a first-round pick, although I don't think that's completely out of the question either, depending on their confidence level and getting a deal done with Trent McDuffie in the very near future.
Yeah,
too.
and I haven't looked at the corner depth in the draft.
Yeah.
I think corner and defensive linemen are always possible in the first round, honestly.
But yeah, I think they will bring in somebody else in the cornerback room because no matter what, they're going to have McDuffie, Watson, and Joshua Williams again. Like we know those three will be on the roster next year, no question about it. They could use another individual. I don't even know if it has to be a veteran as much as just like somebody that can actually compete and push Jalen Watson a little bit. I hear you.
I want some depth.
Yeah.
They're too thin there, and we found that out in the middle of the season last year when the injuries piled up a little bit. And I don't know, unless you guys are convinced that Najee Johnson is going to take a big leap forward. He got picked on.
Yeah.
Picked on last year. Some of the guys that had a chance to grow didn't take the leap I think they thought they were going to take. And so as a result of that, I felt like they just kind of got stuck in that position. Look, wide receiver is not on my list, and we can talk about the available options here later on in the show. It just, and I know it's because I don't know the suspension. And if I knew for a fact it was 8 games, right? If I just knew, or if I knew for a fact it was 4.
Like, is there a chance, man?
You know,
we had Brett Veach on the show.
I think there's a chance he doesn't get suspended. I have no idea.
Yeah, we had Brett Veach on the show a week ago, and we asked him about Rashee Rice. One, injury-wise, how is he doing? He says he's ahead of schedule, which is great to hear. And then, hey, have you been in communication with the league at all? Where are you at? And they say, we're obviously prepared for whatever it is. The league has a process they go through, yada, yada. If there's not the criminal case solidified or finalized, I should say, by the time we get to the start of the season, there's a chance it gets pushed back a whole nother year. Or worst case scenario is it gets resolved, but it's November, and then all of a sudden he's suspended from middle of November.
You and I said the same thing last year. Like, it's like, if you're going to make that decision, it's got to be before November 1st.
Well,
you can't be suspending me in December of the year, whatever.
End of August, right? Like that was the thing last year when we didn't know what was going to happen. Hey, if it's August 18th or whatever, and you haven't decided to suspend him, then he needs to be allowed to play all year, which is what ended up happening. He just got hurt. So I think there's a similar thing. If by the middle to end of August, if we're in St. Joe and the league and the criminal side hasn't also finalized itself, we could be sitting there and Rashee Rice could actually be playing week 1 of the season. I don't think that is 100% out of the question unless we find out in 3 months there's a huge update in the case and whether it's, I don't know if it'd be settled. I don't know. I'm not talking about the civil stuff, like the actual criminal case, which has been quiet since September, since August.
We know that there's a civil court thing on the books for this summer. There is still, as far as I can tell, anywhere I look, nothing on the criminal side that's technically on the docket. So you're running into the same thing. So like at current present, I'm operating at 4 or less for the sake of how I'm trying to roster build. I know Brett Veach is probably doing the same thing as us, Gold, which is he is guessing a number based on the conversations he had or has had that he thinks is the number of games and then trying to roster build around it. It's a terrible way to have to go about it. A complete unknown of having to do it. It's also why I think your answer is not necessarily wrong, because they are probably, from my perspective, it's like, well, I'll just draft a wide receiver. If it's to fill time at the beginning of the season, a rookie wide receiver is a lot harder person to do that than unnamed veteran wide receiver listed below, whether that be of the caliber that we mentioned, like Hollywood or Christian Kirk, etc., or it be of the I don't like the guys, the level of guys who've been here before. Not necessarily, I'm not saying these names because I'm saying bring back Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm just saying like that level of receiver, Juju or McColl, or, warm bodies who are veterans, who have played the position, who can help you out for a month, and then can take a step back for a little bit once the right guys come into play. We'll take your answers at 913-586-7965. Because, I am kind of curious, what outside of left tackle, what is the first move you would make for Kansas City?
2 people did text in and said running back. I don't think that'd be at the top, but that's an area that I would like, and I think Cody would as well, to address. I would think they could just accomplish it in the draft, but I think it was Fesco maybe a week and a half ago put out on Twitter, or at least on his show, that the Chiefs maybe were interested in looking at the veteran running back market as well. And so you start looking at some of those names. That's where you get to the...
You're talking about like Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert,
that's where you get to
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, that's where you get to those kind of guys. I'm not 100% against that. That would not be my first move Monday, legal tampering outside of left tackle, go get a veteran back to go with Pacheco. I don't hate the idea. I definitely think they have to find some more explosiveness there. I just think the draft is a cheap way to do it, where it's a deep running back class. I mean, whether you talk to Matt Millers of the world, whether you were talking to Brett Veach when we asked him about getting
Seems
more
like there's
explosive.
kind of a million choices
So,
there.
but yeah, I mean, I would not be like, oh my gosh, how dare they go
not
sign
my-
a veteran back? I just don't know if that's number one or number two.
Is there an age of a running back that you're like, absolutely not? Like post what? Post like 28, post 20?
Yeah,
Like, is
I
there,
mean, 30,
my
or,
mind-
30 or older, I'm out.
Pretty much
okay.
across the board. That's just a universal rule.
well, right. Well, because Aaron Jones is 30, Raheem Mostert is 32, Jamal Williams is 30, Najee Harris is 26.
Yeah.
Then A.J. Dillon.
Najee Harris isn't explosive anymore to me.
That was the thing. That was the point I was going to say. Is these guys are bigger backs. Like A.J. Dillon is not a elusive back. He is a
Let's
power
go draft one.
He's a power runner. Javonte Williams is only 24 from the Broncos. He's an unrestricted free agent. Maybe
Truth is, I'd probably
guy?
do. Probably
Yeah,
look
he
at
was
both.
intriguing a couple. He just has had some injury history, but he at least maybe there's a chance of some.
he's
He's
so
someone that
young.
you bring in like during camp. You know,
Yeah, you're going to need your Samaje P. Ryan, your Dame. You're going to need your third back veteran dude in case of emergency guy. That's why I probably wouldn't go as high as like, Aaron Jones. I know his name is getting tossed around, but that's why it's not day one for me, Drew. Because like the same way I was talking about corner is if you just told me, all right, here's the Chiefs plan for the season, veteran back who's even below the guys we're mentioning here, Isaiah Pacheco, and a guy they took in the third round, I'm okay. Like at corner, it'd be like, I wouldn't feel okay if it was just third round pick and the guys they have would be like, that's all you want? I feel like you want one more thing, don't you? You can't just be okay here.
Yeah.
You should want some other depth to go with it. And that's, I guess, how I was viewing this like need. Because an offensive line, once we eliminate left tackle, they are currently, in my opinion, and I know people are going to kick around the other names that are possible, I think Kingsley Suamataia is left guard for this team. I don't think the other names who are getting tossed around as possible guys to beat him out are even being seriously considered by Kansas City or even will be seriously considered by Kansas City barring some sort of injury. I think it'll be Kingsley, Creed, Trey,
There's one
and
spot
Juwan
up for
Taylor.
grabs. There's one
So,
spot up for grabs. Like it's left tackle, right? And it's the unknown name.
Any argument for free agent defensive line needing to be the number one list? No Charles Omenihu, Turk Wharton on the box. So they're leaving guys off the docket.
There's an argument.
We
for it,
don't know
absolutely.
about it. I mean, because like that's a position I would at least kick around.
Are you counting them as just bringing them back as a move essentially?
Yeah,
because I think
they're
one of
free
them,
agents. I mean, they're not in Kansas City.
I think one of them should be brought back. At least that might be the next one, just to try to because.
Yeah, Turk Ward or Charles Omenihu, one of them coming back would be a nice thing to have, considering you look at the current projected defensive line.
There's some holes there.
It's kind of weak heading into the season. Chris Jones, obviously, and Karlaftis, but after that, you got Mike Dana and nobody else really. Like it's pretty bleak. Now this is where maybe at 31 they just go ahead and say we're going to draft one of the we'll call it the top 5 defensive linemen, top 7 defensive linemen in the draft at 31 and just roll with it.
I still think you should bring in one of those guys just for the sake of it's not even necessarily working in the edge rusher, whoever they draft at 31, if it is a defensive lineman. But you can never have too many pass rushers, or guys that are on the defensive line just to rotate in there.
We'll talk more about this later on the show. I see a lot of people still wanting Kareem Hunt back. I think that ship has sailed, in my opinion.
I'm looking
we can get back to. I think that is the opposite of getting more explosive. He's just not an explosive back. Doesn't mean you don't, just like Joe Thuney, right? Like both were huge parts of the success this team had this year. Joe Thuney for 5 years or 4 years, but there's still the business decision. And at this point, Kareem Hunt, if someone else wants to pay him a nice chunk of change, good for him. He earned himself some money this year. I think we saw while his vision was an upgrade on Pacheco and they needed him because Pacheco's injury, Kareem Hunt doesn't give you the explosiveness that you need. So I don't believe that's a realistic option for them in the offseason. Let's pivot to the Royals, though, a little bit. We had Cody Decker from Mad Dog Sports Radio on the show yesterday, and we asked him the question, hey, is this it? Is this the year for Bobby Witt Jr. where he wins an MVP award? He was runner-up last year to Aaron Judge. We all know the story there. And this year, at least at FanDuel, there's some other books that he's not, but at FanDuel, the MVP favorite is Royals shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. We said last year, at some point, he's winning one or two of these bad boys in his career. I asked Cody Decker yesterday, is this the year? He said yes. He thinks this is the year that Bobby Witt Jr. does actually win MVP. His reasoning was not just because Bobby had the numbers to win it last year, but because Aaron Judge doesn't have the same protection in the order that he had last year, especially to start the year. Not only is there's no Juan Soto, but also Stanton's dealing with some stuff. So that's a strong, I think, point to make in this conversation. Bobby Witt Jr.'s numbers don't have to get better for him to win. He ran into a guy in Aaron Judge.
If they stay the same, he should be the MVP.
If Bobby had last year's numbers for the next 5 years, Cody, he might win MVP 3 or 4 times. He ran into Aaron Judge, who was having a ridiculous season as well. But if Bobby Witt Jr.'s exact same stat line on a team that was going to the playoffs like last year, if he does that the next 5 years, he's going to win 3 or 4 of them.
I actually think the biggest question you have, if you are looking at this and you're like, wow. I mean, first off, how often can you say that in Kansas City? In baseball? How often can you walk into a season and say that right now, I mean, you can walk in, and I don't think you will be, but Patrick Mahomes will be a top 3 favorite to win the MVP in the NFL, probably top 5 favorite to win the MVP, and Bobby Witt Jr. is currently the American League favorite to win the MVP. That's in Kansas City, but in baseball, even less common. I'm sure, maybe you could have betted in Vegas for George Brett after he hit 400, pretty much. Maybe that season, the following year, you could have gotten in there. I think the biggest question you have, and is if you honestly think that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to win the MVP, it all relates to the second thing you said, which is, do you think this team is going to the playoffs? If they win 81 games and he puts up these identical numbers, in baseball history, the amount of people, I think it's 1, that have won the MVP and not been on a playoff team is rare. Cy Young Award winners, you can be on any team you want. Nobody cares.
Look at Greinke.
You don't have to go to the postseason. Your team doesn't even have to be any good, honestly. Just if you are great, they'll give you the award. MVP? They don't mess around on MVP. You got to, and he led the league in batting average and hits, and some things are going to be hard to replicate, but, I think he should be the MVP favorite.
And it's the same names he's going to be competing against. I mean, he's the favorite at FanDuel right now, plus 270. Aaron Judge is right behind him at 3-1. Gunnar Henderson. For a while, that was the whole argument around the All-Star break. Who's the better young player? And Bobby obviously won that competition when, as the season went on. But Gunnar Henderson's plus 850. Then you got Corey Seager and Vlad Guerrero Jr. is kind of a sexy pick for a lot of people in the betting world right now. Contract year, right? So people are thinking.
And he's trying to get paid $600 million.
I get the logic on Vlad Jr. 14-1. Jordan Alvarez just has never been able to stay healthy. He's got potential at 15-1. And then Mike Trout. I just don't think there's anything there anymore for him to do
Talking
that.
About a guy who can't stay healthy.
18-1, and then Julio.
He'll be better now. He's gonna be in right field.
I actually think there's good value on Julio Rodriguez at 20-1 because let's not forget how we were talking about him a year or two ago, and so he would be if I were going way down the board, I would start looking at Julio. But Bobby Witt Jr. should be the favorite. Any other year he wins it. Any other year last year he wins it. He just ran into a really, really special season for a guy playing for the New York Yankees. And the home runs, right? Chicks dig the long ball, so do voters, basically. Well, and that's what, if Bobby is capable of also it's crazy to ask for more because the stat line was ridiculous last year. But if he could have 5 more home runs, and I know it sounds so easy, it's not that easy, but if he could have 5 more home runs, that changes the game too. It alleviates some of the issues that you would see with the arguments people would use without the power numbers.
It's not crazy for him to have 20 more RBI. If you're curious how the numbers can go up, Jonathan India got on base 60 points better than the people who were leading off in front of him last year, Gold. So, they're getting on base, 50 additional times in the year? So Jonathan India is likely to be on base 30 to 50 times more than someone was on base in front of Bobby Witt Jr. last year when he was hitting, Gold. That's a pretty high ratio of time where you have a chance to knock in more runs, have those home runs count for more, and everything else that kind of comes in between that where the counting stats can kind of get up. Like you pointed out, the reason why Aaron Judge won is because all the counting stats were at the peak. The 2 things that Bobby Witt Jr. led in, other than defense, which we know I still think should be a factor, even though it's largely an offensive award. He had way more home runs, okay? Just way more, and that's fine. But he also had 40 more RBI. Now, 40 more RBI, Bobby could have closed that number if somebody in the leadoff spot was getting
Insert in
on
Jonathan
base.
India.
Yeah, so those things are just going to go a long way to help. He's got the same protection behind him, except he also had to go 6 weeks without Vinnie. And ideally, that won't be the case this year. So, all the counting stats predictably should honestly maybe go up a little, which seems crazy considering the year he just had. But they have a chance to go up. Maybe they won't, but they have a good chance to go up.
It helps from a public perception and therefore even for voters. The fact that he was on the stage that he was on last year. I'm not even talking postseason. That helped. But we all know the home run derby, right? How epic that was. He came up, I mean, what was it, 5 feet short of hitting that home run to keep the home run derby going.
Yeah.
Those moments, the fact that everybody's talking about him as a top 5 player in the league, top 3 maybe player in the league, all this kind of stuff, that helps your case. There's just like, you already, like, the hard work of like getting in the conversation is done. He's there. He's the favorite. Now just kind of do your thing. You don't have to, I don't think the hill to climb is there anymore, right? Like, he's already at the top of the hill. Do what you do, and you'll be fine for that conversation. Whereas he was still going up against like the New York PR, if you will, battle that exists with going up against a star from New York and that kind of stuff.
And a guy who'd already been in MVP conversations and everything else kind of in between. And the Yankees were having this like beautiful year of luck or whatever. And I hate them even more, obviously, because they beat the Royals in the postseason. So now I don't want to think about them.
Jazz Chisholm re-signed there, didn't he?
Yeah. And look, I still get to like, anytime a Yankees fan, we beat you in that one 3-game ALDS, you're like, oh, congrats to you. Who's won a World Series more often? Like more recently, who's won a World Series more recently? The Kansas City Royals. And you guys spend $8 trillion every year. So great.
Some of the text line was saying, how's Ohtani not up there? Remember, AL, NL. He's in the NL. So Ohtani, don't worry. He's the favorite on the NL side. He's a considerable favorite. Ohtani's plus 145 on the NL side. Then Juan Soto, who's now on the NL side as well. That's what will make the NL MVP kind of interesting, because now it's Soto and Ohtani competing for that versus before. Ohtani didn't have much competition.
He didn't even pitch last year, and it didn't feel like he had competition.
Who was Soto on again? Who's Soto with?
The Mets.
That's right, the
New
Mets.
York Mets.
Fernando Tatis Jr. has the third best odds on the NL side, if you're wondering. Then Mookie Betts, who's just one of my favorite players in baseball, period. He's 12-1 on the Dodgers as well. But yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. and Shohei Ohtani, the two favorites in the respective leagues to win MVP. Pretty cool.
I did in the other world of sports, and we'll continue to like give you any news that might break out of the National Football League, as that stuff obviously continues to move. Like former Chief Mitch Morse retired from football today after 10 years in the NFL.
That's crazy. It's 10 years. Like,
I know.
We were talking before the show. I'm like, he's retiring already. You're like, dude, he's played for 10 years. I'm like, that did not feel like it's been 10 years since the Chiefs drafted him out of Mizzou.
No, but Creed's on his second contract, and he replaced Mitch Morse. So I guess that's just the way it goes sometimes. But we were thinking more about sports because obviously a couple nights ago, Kyrie Irving hurts himself, and then it's announced that he's out for the rest of the season. Only casting even further joke into how bad that trade is, right? Like, it has a chance to go down is one of the single worst trades in NBA history without almost question.
One of the worst in sports history.
But I think it requires, the only way it goes worse is like, I do think like the Lakers have to like rub it in your nose a little.
I mean, what's the
right?
right?
They win the title this year, you're saying?
Yeah, but like, so that obviously we're talking about Luka getting traded. The Lakers, Anthony Davis goes to the Mavs. Couple everything together. Anthony Davis been hurt. He hasn't played. He's played. He's played one game.
His first game was insanely good.
Yeah, and he's a great player, but he's not healthy currently.
Hurt his groin. Yep.
Then, as you just said, Kyrie's now out for the year. Meanwhile, in LA, aren't the Lakers like 14-1 or something since Luka joined? It's something like that.
They're second in the West.
Yeah,
right,
so things are going great out there. This is one of the worst trades in sports history already. Now, nothing is going to top a trade in the NFL. And I'm not talking about Herschel Walker trade. That was a terrible one. I'm talking about Deshaun Watson getting traded from Houston to Cleveland and the massive contract that came with it where they're still paying, and we already know Deshaun's not playing this year. So that's the worst trade, I think, if you couple the contract together in sports history now, Deshaun Watson to Cleveland. But this trade, it is in the top 3 or 4 for me. Absolutely. Nico Harrison is the GM, right, there in Dallas. That dude should be fired at the end of the season.
I don't think it actually is as bad of a trade as you guys think it is.
It's a disaster.
You've
it's
had
gotten
3
worse.
weeks to look at it.
Every week it gets worse, Drew.
I know, I understand, but if the Lakers don't win the title, it doesn't matter because you can just chalk it up. It's injuries.
No.
Hang on.
Oh, you think that softens the blow?
Traded for an injured player, a guy that's been hurt throughout his career.
Hold on. When the Mavs traded Luka, they were 7th in the Western Conference. They were already struggling. Anyways,
right? So put better players around him. That's what teams in the
I understand,
NBA do.
But so when they traded Luka, Derek Lively was hurt and had been hurt. Very key player for them. Daniel Gafford was hurt. He was on fire and was playing almost all-star level basketball for them while he was hurt. And he was also hurt. Then you bring in Anthony Davis. You give up Luka, who at the time was also injured, by the way. You bring in Anthony Davis, and
he
obviously
got healthy real quick once he went to a team he liked.
I know. Well, he liked the Mavs. He didn't want to go. Yeah. But Anthony Davis, unfortunately, obviously got hurt right away. They were good for Anthony Davis for a couple of games. They've just had some injury bad luck because if they had everybody healthy, they are a top 5 team at worst, I think, in the Western Conference if they're fully healthy, and they are just as much of a contender as the Lakers are.
Sure,
in my opinion.
In sports, if a lot of guys were healthy, a lot of teams would have won titles that didn't win titles or did win titles, right? Like part of the equation has to be availability, though.
No, I understand, but I mean,
and they traded for a guy who wasn't ever available.
Yeah, I know Anthony Davis is. I know Anthony Davis is going
to a lot of games.
Yeah, and I know Anthony Davis is going to eventually play, and I know that Kyrie Irving will eventually play again. It's just when you see Luka motivated more than ever because of the trade, and then right now the return on your trade has been zero. Nothing.
No, I understand.
Got nothing out of it.
I wouldn't have made the trade either. Like, I think it's a bad trade, but I don't think it is. I think it's too early to jump the gun and say this is a catastrophically awful trade that's one of the worst in sports history.
Look, it doesn't. I'll give you this. It does not compare to the Deshaun Watson one, in which
of course
they
not.
traded a ton of assets, then signed him to a fully guaranteed contract. By the way, if you guys didn't see, they restructured his contract today, just real quick.
Whose contract? Sorry.
Deshaun Watson's.
Okay.
This year, he'll only be a $36 million cap hit. Next year, he will be a $81 million dead cap hit. And if you're asking, well, maybe they could cut him and get out of that contract, his dead cap hit would be $135 million. Jeez. It would actually cost you $55 million additional dollars to cut him. So he's on the Browns for the next 2 years, and they still have to pay him $53 million in 2027 not to play for him.
All right, coming up next, we'll talk about Missouri basketball. Last night in Oklahoma, another loss and a bit of a rough stretch right now for the Tigers. How is that going to impact the NCAA tournament for them and next week's SEC tournament? We'll do that next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
College basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets and even who's cutting down the nets. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app's easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/Alex and get on the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Ready to jet off on your next adventure? Make travel easy with KC's best airport parking. It's Park and Go. All spots are covered, so you're protected from the elements. Plus, their quick, convenient shuttle picks you up right at your car and takes you straight to the terminal. Great service, great price, zero hassle. Open 24/7. Reserve your spot now at bookparkandgo.com. That's bookparkandgo.com. Park and Go, family owned and operated.
Gain Super Flings are here to take your laundry to the next level.
Talking about Gain Super Flings. Super-sized laundry packs. These things are huge. Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings laundry packs have 4 times the Oxy cleaning power and 3 times the Febreze freshness versus Gain Original Liquid.
Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings for next level laundry.
O'Reilly.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Your life, your goals, your legacy. With a dedicated Fidelity advisor, it's all part of a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Visit fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Choose Syntec full synthetic motor oil designed for today's engines exclusively at your O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins.
Join the millions of people who are celebrating going hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you just step into and they're on. That's right, you don't have to bend down and you don't have to touch them, which is why people can't stop talking.
After trying Skechers Slip-ins, I want all my shoes to have this technology.
So how do hands-free Skechers Slip-ins work? It's like they have an invisible built-in shoehorn so your foot slides into place. Then our heel pillow keeps your foot comfy and secure. And Slip-ins are for the whole family, men, women, and kids, in all your favorite Skechers styles.
It's crazy how something as simple as a pair of shoes have made my life better.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins, and I'm never going back.
See what everybody can't stop talking about. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
All right, everybody, it's here. The March to Spring Training and Opening Day is officially upon us. Hey, I'm Rob Bradford from Baseball Isn't Boring, and we'll have you covered every single day with instant reactions to late-breaking signings, determining which players are, yes, truly in the best shape of their lives, and behind-the-scenes story from all the excitement and intrigue that spring training brings. Follow Baseball Isn't Boring in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Just getting started here on a Thursday. It's Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Don't forget, head over to 965thefan.com for the Fiery Hot Sevens contest where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing, all thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery. Well, boy, what a difference 2 weeks makes for the Missouri Tigers men's basketball team. They are now 1-3 since they really started to get in the conversation of being a real threat to maybe even make their first Final Four. They lose last night 96-84. They were not close against Oklahoma. They were down 13 at halftime to the Sooners. They outscored the Sooners by a point in the second half. Way too little, too late. They gave up 96 points in this run. Their defense has been absolutely abysmal. It's a big reason why when the new rankings come out next week, the Tigers are going to probably be 20th or something in the country. When it was looking like they had a chance to crack the top 10 before the end of the regular season, the double bye thing is over in the SEC. Lenardi just came out with updated bracketology. They no longer, or he is the last 5 seed. I'm sorry now. He has them as the last 5 seed. You Go Brackets, the one we were joking about, that's been the most accurate, has them falling to a 6 seed right now. This is a Missouri Tigers team.
He has them as a 6.
Yeah, this is a Missouri Tigers team now that they just are in the category of like dangerous, but they look like they're just going to be one of those teams in the tournament, like that wins a game or two. Not a team that looks like suddenly they can go on a deep run in the NCAA tournament.
No, that's done. Unless I'm way off base here, and all of a sudden they turn this thing into.
Yeah.
They don't look like it. They look like an early exit team to me now, and I'm not even doing that to pick on them. 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, or whatever, I think on social media and then on this show, I had said what you'd said, which is like, this is a team that I now have expectations to get to the Sweet 16. Get to the Sweet 16, be where you're supposed to be. You are a good enough team. You're playing well in a deep conference, all those things. But now they have an Achilles heel. It's not just they're losing to tough teams in a difficult SEC. Sure, that's okay. I mean, they beat Alabama, top 10 ranked team less than a month ago. So like, it's not like but like they're giving up 92 to Arkansas, 97 to Vanderbilt, 96 to Oklahoma. they are giving up. They gave up 98 to Alabama even in that win. So, I mean, their teams are shooting in the last 6 games better than 50% from the field and better than 40% from 3. Do they just not care to play defense, or are they just bad? Like, that's really what it comes down to. And if it's just you think they're in a funk, and when you start losing, some of your bad habits get worse, and just as long as you win a game or two in the SEC tournament, you'll get a little bit of your confidence back and some of the defense. Because if you go into the tournament like this, and let's ignore the fact that they could lose to Kentucky at home this Saturday. But if they beat Kentucky at home on this Saturday, good confidence boost going into the SEC tournament. 2 ranked teams, both in the top 25 currently. And it will be by the time that game's played on Saturday, because they won't redo the rankings, as you pointed out. Win a game or two in the SEC tournament, maybe you can rebuild it a little bit. But my initial thought of this is a Sweet 16 team, and I felt like I knew that about them. Not that they were guaranteed to go there, Gold, but this is a Sweet 16 caliber team. That's faded for me. I don't feel that confident about it. They seem like they're in the same spot as Kansas, playing terrible.
After all, it is interesting.
6 and 8 seeds.
After all this, they both could almost be the same seed in the NCAA tournament. I was told Missouri almost won a national title 3 weeks ago. It's kind of interesting how quickly things shift. It's almost like January and February don't mean a whole lot in college basketball. It's what you do in March.
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned this because we had this similar conversation regarding the defensive issues of Missouri and could potentially catch up to them. Maybe it's just the SEC the way that it goes, because Florida played Alabama last night. That was 99-94. Every game in the SEC between mainly top teams, if you take the top half, it seems to be in the 80s and 90s every single time.
You say maybe it's style of play,
so
but they're not winning those games, even though it's
correct.
the style.
So, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's not as much the defensive aspect of it, because I think when we looked it up, Missouri was in the 50s defensive rating wise. Where, I mean, look, if they're a 6 seed and they play an 11. And let's say they beat the 11, and then their 3 seed happens to be, I don't know, an ACC team that's good and solid, but not great, or they play Wisconsin, or they play Michigan State, a team that is really good defensively, but they haven't faced an offense like Missouri, then maybe they actually might have an advantage against a 3 where
I don't think they're going to be one and done all of a sudden, Cody. It's not like you think there's a chance that they're one. I still think Missouri
as
offensively.
As a 6 seed, that's a danger for any 6 seed.
Yeah, I think. Of course, matchups definitely will dictate a lot of this. But right this second, I don't now think they're just going to be eliminated after one game. My thought 2 weeks ago, which was, hey, this could be like the 08 or whatever 09 team that went to an Elite Eight. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. But I don't believe a 2-week stretch in this direction. Suddenly they're just going to be a first game exit unless they run into a terrible.
This
that
is
might
a terrible
be true.
time
That
to be
might
playing
be true.
bad basketball.
That might be the case. Yes.
It's just because if you'd gotten them in the tournament a month ago, when they were just feeling good and riding high, I mean, you might have had something working a little bit. But now it's people have discovered what some of their flaws and issues are, and they're starting to attack those a little bit. I am a little bit worried for Missouri to end up being a one and done team. After all this, I think it's Missouri's going to end up a 6 and maybe a 5, but I think it's a 6, and then Kansas is going to end up an 8. Right?
I think they'll be a 6 and 7.
Are you enjoying this, Gold? Someone on the text line said, it sounds by the sound of your voice, the way you introduced the segment.
For Missouri to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. Just like Carrington enjoys when KU loses.
Oh, yeah.
My thing is 2 weeks ago, everybody was acting like Missouri was going to win a national championship. And it's a reminder of how quickly things shift. That's all I'm enjoying. That's all.
Is that you might have celebrated too soon?
Yeah, that was my whole point 2 weeks
It's a little bit like that meme
ago.
of
That's
that
all.
guy spraying champagne and he's standing on the 3rd place medal.
Yeah.
Stand.
I still think Missouri's a damn good basketball team. I still think they have a chance to win multiple games in the NCAA tournament. But it's just a reminder that what you did on January 20th through February 15th, there's no trophy for that. There's no banner for that. That doesn't mean a damn thing. It's a long basketball season, a very long basketball season. And ultimately, even that applies to this current situation. Missouri might be 1-3 during this current four-game stretch. If they go win multiple games in the tournament, this doesn't matter either, right?
100%.
It goes both ways on that.
100%.
None of this crap matters. Most people don't care anything that you're doing right now. That goes for KU, K-State, or MU. Doesn't matter. What the hell are you going to do in 2 weeks when the Thursday and Friday the NCAA tournament
This is when the season starts. This is when the season, for everybody, technically.
You can wash away all this
start.
sour taste. But, again, I don't teams could just shoot worse. You could get lucky. But, this, to me, this is not how you lose in the first round and just some plucky VCU squad throws up a bunch of threes and they don't miss that day. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not that. every team is dropping 90 on you. It's not like, oops, they all kind of accidentally shot. Teams are scoring a huge percentage. They're not just bad in particular. They're particularly bad in the paint, where it turns out shots are easy to get because you're like right near the basket, Drew. I don't know if you know this. In the paint, that's near the basket.
Yeah, typically
if teams
higher
shoot well
percentage
there,
shots, you know?
Yeah, it's bad. And so, like, that's where they're getting picked on. They're not just like, everyone's not just murdering them on the three-point line. They're getting beat up inside. And if you get beat up inside, that's a really difficult thing to just like overnight fix defensively.
I think that, you know, that's what makes them, even just all the SEC teams, I mean, Missouri included, of course, but how are they going to do in the tournament when they're playing against, because if it is a style of play thing, maybe the SEC actually struggles a lot more than we think it might in the NCAA tournament, where if they are the best league, which we think they are, we might have four SEC teams. We could have four SEC teams in the Elite Eight, and I don't think it would be that much of a surprise based on what we've seen this year. Where it seems like
anybody 13 teams in or whatever.
I wouldn't be surprised if half the Elite Eight is SEC, just based on what we've seen this year, because they are as poor as you might say defensively they are. It seems like there are at least 5 or 6 teams that are elite at scoring.
We'll get into some more college basketball a little bit later on in the show. Of course, Big 12 tournament for the women already underway in Kansas City. We'll talk about that hideous court. My gosh. Next week, the men's tournament begins.
Not great.
It's on TV.
I don't love it.
TV, when the camera's moving, it's worse. Like, the still shot of it, the rendering is like, oh, this could be kind of cool. It's like one of those random photos someone will post on Facebook or social media. It's like, what do you see? And like, it's like this face is supposed to be shown through all these like squiggly, all these squiggly lines. That's what it looks like on TV. It's like it's blinding. But we'll talk more college hoops in a bit. I got a text yesterday from our friend of the show, Mike Shope. You guys know up in Buffalo, right? We've had him on throughout the last couple of years. He does radio in Buffalo, our Odyssey sister station. And he texted me and he wanted to know our perspective on a rumor that's out there around Buffalo and how I think Chiefs fans feel about it. He was referencing the rumor that the Bills are interested in DK Metcalf, also the rumor that the Bills are interested in Myles Garrett. And he's like, which one would be more concerning? And other than the obvious joke, which is, well, there is no concern. Your team hasn't won 4 playoff games. If I was, without being a jerk, my response was not that, by the way, even though that's partially how I feel. I don't think anybody's necessarily fearful of Buffalo. I said, oh, it's easily Myles Garrett. They could get DK Metcalf. Josh Allen just won the MVP. Josh Allen's going to Josh Allen. The defense in Buffalo having Myles Garrett, that would be way more concerning if you're going to be concerned at all with any team acquiring. Right? If Buffalo acquired Myles Garrett, I would be way more fearful of that than DK Metcalf. Do you guys disagree with my answer? I said I think that's how Chiefs fans would answer it, too.
So, and that's fair. You're speaking for the unit, which is difficult. So I guess give us your answers, 913-586-7965. I think they've been making do with lesser at wide receiver. Like, Stephon Diggs, like that first year he was there in Buffalo, I still think he was like one of the better wide receivers in the league, and you saw how dangerous, and in a lot of ways, Gold, that's when I felt like Buffalo was more dangerous to Kansas City than now. So, like, I thought that they were a bigger threat. It took the 13-second game to take them down when they had good offensive weapons. But I don't know, man. They didn't have anybody last year. Like, unless it's, like, DK Metcalf, they're going to have to trade according to reports, and I don't think they're ever going to get this, the Seahawks want a first and a third for DK Metcalf, and he wants to make $30 million a year. I'd almost, like, this sounds sick because, like, you don't want teams that you're worried about to get better. And, you know, Buffalo's always a team that you have to, like, take seriously, Gold. Maybe not worry about, but take seriously. I kind of hope they make that trade. I'd love if they traded a first and a third and paid him $30 million a year. Hell, I'd probably love it if they traded him a second and paid him $30 million a year. That does not seem like, it actually seems like that might help Kansas City based on the fact that it, once again, might kneecap their salary cap situation the way the Von Miller deal did when they were trying to catch up. Myles Garrett, I just watched the Eagles defense completely ruin this offensive line, and the Chiefs still don't have an answer at left tackle. I don't want Myles Garrett anywhere near this team. I don't want Myles Garrett anywhere near an important game against Kansas City in the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm
zero interest, Myles Garrett by far would be scarier to me.
Yeah, that's exactly why I answered the way I did to him. I was like, that there's just no way. I mean, there's not a wide receiver. Just the way the Chiefs have played the Bills also, and if we're just talking about them versus any other team, Josh Allen's going to do his thing. We've seen him, and he's still 0-4. So having another weapon, I think that helps them maintain their status in their division and all that. But Myles Garrett's potentially the guy that you would be worried could actually get him over a hump. So, I hope the Bills don't trade for Myles Garrett. Although Buffalo's not like they're not the biggest threat because they haven't been able to beat them 4 times. So it's like I don't like they can play in the regular season next year. Buffalo can beat the Chiefs in the regular season like they do. Who cares? It just doesn't matter.
No, yeah, I get but I take them serious. Like they're only like 3 or 4 maybe gold teams in the entire AFC I take serious. As in, they can beat you in a game. Do I fear Buffalo? Do I quake in my boots at their? No one in the AFC. Hell, no one in the NFC either. No one in the NFL. That includes the Eagles who just beat them. I don't I'm not like terrified. They beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Yes, the Eagles got them this time, but now all of a sudden I got to be, oh no, they'll never beat them ever again. No. But it's the teams you take seriously in the AFC. Buffalo for sure. Baltimore continues to be on this list. I think Cincinnati has one more year.
Get back to the playoffs.
That's what they got one more year of me taking them seriously. But if they come up short, they miss the playoffs again, Gold. They're one and done in the playoffs. They're just kind of a mediocre 10-win team who goes nowhere. They're off my list, too, of being taken serious. Houston never stepped up, no one else. So, Buffalo, they're like the few teams I really don't want to get a player like that because everyone else isn't even on the radar yet. Like, if the Houston Texans, a team who I still think has a good quarterback and a good coach, got Myles Garrett, it makes them better, Gold, but I'm not like, well, now you're good enough to beat Kansas City just because you have Myles Garrett. With Buffalo, that's possible. By the way, there's no one on earth giving a first and a third and $30 million a year to DK Metcalf, right? There is not a team on this planet who would do that, in my opinion, unless I'm just way.
No, you ask for a first-round pick. You know how this goes. You ask for a first
second
round,
and you settle for a third.
Yeah, you tell everybody the price is first-round pick, third-round pick, and eventually you're going to get a conditional second, or you're going to get a third and a sixth when this is all done. Yeah, that's just the name of the game. But you and I take the compensation of a first-round pick even out of it. The contract is the bigger problem. But other teams, it's not as problematic, right? Like they have the cap space to go pay DK Metcalf $28 to $32 million a year. I just don't believe the Chiefs should be in that business right now of making that kind of move.
A lot of fans were asking about DK Metcalf, right? Like once his trade announced, there's plenty of people who were on social yeah, go get DK now. If you knew you had to pay him $30 million a year, I'm curious. If you were a yes before, are you still a yes? Here, I'll make one argument for it, even though let me be clear. I do not want the Chiefs to trade for DK Metcalf, especially at a third-round pick and $30 million a year. I'm going to make that very clear before I give you the reasons why someone might argue it makes sense. The simple one is obvious. They're paying no one at wide receiver, and you tell yourselves, and we don't trust to pay Rashee Rice when it's time to pay Rashee Rice because he's had off-field issues. That did not stop the Chiefs at previous times. It's never stopped the Chiefs. It's never stopped a lot of teams in the NFL. I'm just saying. So you say, hey, we're not planning on re-signing Rashee Rice because, look, off the field, we don't want to deal with it. We're going to enjoy our 4 years with him, and then we're going to move on. We got Worthy behind it. We're paying no one at wide receiver right now. So what we're saying is we'll pay DK now. We'll still have no one to pay 4 years from now because that deal will only be 3 years long anyway. The money, actually, you could probably make work under the sense if you're never planning on doing it. I still wouldn't do it. I'm just making the contrary argument.
Yeah, I think the issue with that still, I would argue, would just be hey, we know you're going to probably make Trent McDuffie the highest paid corner or one of the highest paid corners here pretty soon as well. We already know they're going to probably very soon going to make Trey Smith the highest paid guard. He already is, even on the tag, but the highest paid guard in football. Mahomes is going to be due for a new contract bump here very soon. Like, there's a lot of other things that are going to go, and I know the cap, we all know the cap keeps going up, and yes,
going up at a rate that you could probably make it work.
Plenty of teams have one high-priced wide receiver. I get it. I think that's easier to do once Kelsey retires and your tight end's not making $19 million. Then I think you say, screw it. Yeah, let's go get a high-priced wide receiver and make it happen moving forward. But that was just an interesting text I got from our friend up in Buffalo. And if I was a Bills fan, I'd be saying, give me Myles Garrett over get me DK Metcalf. Even though their offense, his reasoning was they think their offense overachieved this year. That they're worried that Shakir, who got an extension, and I think there's a little truth to that. Keon Coleman in that wide receiver room with Curtis Samuel wasn't really good enough, but Josh Allen just had an unbelievable season.
But we all see the free agent wide receivers available, right?
They can go just sign Christian Kirk or something.
There are not.
I don't want them to.
There are probably 15 decent free agent wide receivers, as in makes your offense a little more balanced. And guess what else you can do? Go to the draft. Go to the draft, sign one of those guys. Save your picks save the pick you would trade for DK Metcalf. Take a third round wide receiver instead. Sign one of the other guys and then trade for It's a way better deal, even though it's going to cost more in draft pick compensation. That's the other thing, going back to the Deshaun Watson thing. Someone explained to me, like, sometimes I just think people, like, this is where I adamantly argue when it's like, well, they're doing it professionally, so they're smarter than you. Whoever's running the Browns organization is dumber than me at running this team. They should, for a fact, burn it all to the ground. They should trade Myles Garrett. They should shed every cent of payroll they possibly can so that they can get themselves cap compliant in the next 18 months after they're finally done paying an absolutely ludicrous amount of money for Deshaun Watson. And then at the end of that, Gold, after 2 years from now or next year in the round, they should take a first-round quarterback and hope that they get it right. And I know that they haven't gotten it right in a very long time. Or they should go with the savvy veteran if they want to restabilize for a little bit and then go that route. But, like, you got to burn that. Why are you holding Myles Garrett hostage there?
Where do you guys
aren't
think,
anywhere close to winning.
Where do you think Joey Bosa ends up? That was the other news related while we're talking about veterans and free agents. Or I know Garrett's not a free agent, but veteran pass rushers, I should say.
Yeah.
The Chargers move on from him. It was a cap-saving move. They're going to save over $20 million by, I think, $28 million, actually, by cutting Joey Bosa. The rumors out there are that he wants to go play with his brother, and Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa could team up in San Francisco. But that's now, I don't know if it changes the Myles Garrett market, but it means if you're a team that doesn't want to give up draft assets and you can get, I don't know, let's call it 60% of Myles Garrett, is that fair to say? Then is Joey Bosa an option for some of these teams that don't get Myles Garrett?
I don't know.
He hasn't been healthy.
Ever.
But he's going to be a lot cheaper, and I don't have to give up draft capital. But if he's just dead set on playing with his brother, well, then he's going to just go sign with the 49ers.
Yeah.
Who now have Robert Saleh back as their defensive coordinator. They're in a rebuild kind of ish, it looks like.
They're kind of like they're stuck in no man's land. They kind of feel like they're in between both on that end. I mean, it'd probably be okay, I guess. Like, it's not like, like if that was a guy for Kansas City, I'd
who's
still
getting
probably
after the passer in L.A., though, with the Chargers now? Like, who's getting after the quarterback? Are they
Khalil Mack still under contract?
I don't believe so, right? Isn't there a rumor he's going to go back and sign with Chicago, I think? Isn't that like the people are speculating and finish his career in Chicago?
Okay.
I just want, like,
no one.
Is there, look, they can draft a guy, right? But, like, or maybe they're the team that trades for Myles Garrett. I don't know. Right? Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they think they're clearing room for Myles Garrett. I would not like that in the AFC West. I'll tell you that.
No, I told you I want Myles Garrett nowhere near a team.
But I'm just trying to think, as it sits right now, who's getting after the quarterback for Harbaugh if you don't have Joey Bosa?
Yeah, that's fair.
Not really fearful of the defensive front the way you would have been. So maybe they are going to trade for Myles Garrett, or they're going to draft one of the top edge rushers.
I saw Ian Rappaport say that Joey Bosa was one of the greatest Chargers of all time, and I thought, what? No,
that franchise, man.
What, he has like 60 sacks? We're just calling that. That'd be like if George Karlaftis stayed
He's
here
played
another
in
4
3
years.
full seasons.
Are we ready to say that George Karlaftis? I mean, he averages like 7 sacks a year. He's one of the greatest ever.
I think it speaks more to the Chargers' defensive history of players. Like we know if you go back,
like the sadness of their franchise's history.
Yeah, that's what I take it as, because of course Junior Seau, R.I.P., one of the greats for the Chargers. Sean Merriman, one of the great linebackers for them. Defensively. Like you brought up Eric Weddle. I don't put him in that category of like safety as Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu, like Hall of Fame guys.
But I'm saying he was like a really good player, and he played like 8 years. That's the same to me as Joey Bosa.
But how many other Chargers players?
Years.
I mean, they're like Chargers players on defense.
Players is harder, because I can just say like Dan Fouts.
Offense is Fouts and Gates and LaDainian Tomlinson and
all these other guys.
But defensively, it's Seau, Merriman, and I guess maybe it's name recognition wise, it's definitely Bosa. So I don't know. I mean. Ian Rappaport, I don't know. You just kind of put that out there last night. I don't think he was saying he's a Hall of Famer or anything.
I mean,
no, he just said one of the greatest.
Is Derwin James better than him?
I don't think so. Derwin James also couldn't stay healthy.
Derwin James is still there technically. He has a chance. He only played 6 years, so actually I'd probably give it to Bosa over James today.
Derwin James had more sacks than Joey Bosa last year.
Last year, by the way, if you're curious who's going to get the sacks on their team, they were real bad there.
Well, that would
Tulatopu, I don't know how to pronounce it. 8.5 sacks. Khalil Mack, who will be gone, had 6. Bud Dupree, who's also a million years old, had 6. Derwin James had 5.5, and Joey Bosa had 5. So
yeah, I'll be curious to see what they do.
They're one of the worst pass rush teams in the league, and I didn't even realize that till now. My God, they're awful.
I wonder if they are in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes, and they try to pull a big move to obviously help that pass rush. It'll be interesting to watch what happens in the AFC West with some of these moves. Someone said, did we ever talk about the Denver Broncos coach that got fired yesterday? No, we did not.
Wait, what?
He got fired. Their linebackers coach got fired for punching a police officer at an airport. The local connection is
fired.
Michael Wilhoit, and if that name rings a bell. The local connection is, well, he played in the NFL for a couple of years with the Niners. He went to Washburn. He's from Topeka. My co-host at the time in Topeka played football with him, was good friends with him. I've talked to Michael Wilhoit before. But, yes, he was at an airport in Denver, and allegedly, and he was parked in a spot you're not supposed to be parked at. The security officer, I think actually, sorry, it was an actual police officer. I apologize. Police officer said, you can't park here. Move your damn car, basically. And Will Hoyt allegedly was like, shut the F up. Then kind of got face to face with the officer. The officer like fell back or whatever. And then the officer came back and kind of like shoved him away. And that's when Will Hoyt allegedly punches the police officer. And that resulted in the firing. And he probably won't have a job in the NFL again, is my guess. Yeah.
It's going to be hard on the resume. Coach. It's like, hey, why were you out of the league for 18 months, 24 months? Well, I punched a police officer, had to do some jail time for that. Oh, we're good.
Yeah, but no, it's...
No, I missed that.
I saw the name. The name was familiar to me only because I just had that. Otherwise, it's not, there's no other reason for anybody to have known the name. But I only knew because my co-host was friends with them at the time and played college football at Washburn with him. Otherwise, that's the name that would not have meant a dang thing to me. All right, up next, we'll get to the 11 o'clock hour. Let's talk more about the wide receivers. I want to throw out 3 names and see who you would actually take in Kansas City. Plus, we'll play a little game involving the Royals and who's going to play more at a certain position next.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
College basketball reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. We are almost there. Conference tournaments right around the corner. And right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets and even who's cutting down the nets. We were mentioning the Missouri Tigers. You can bet on them to win the SEC tournament at the end of this week. You can go ahead and take a look at some of the odds to win the national title between 2 of the local teams as well. If you've been wanting to join FanDuel and you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/Alex and get in on the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most of us, you want to do whatever you can to nurture your relationship. But if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and your partner. ED is a relationship destroyer. It can contribute to depression, distancing, conflicts, and even breakups and divorce. And what's so disturbing about this is that most men who suffer with ED can be successfully treated, but a lot of guys don't seek treatment when they should. At Heartland Men's Health, we have protocols that are effective in well over 90% of cases. In fact, if you're like most guys, you could be having great sex within a day or two of your first appointment, and maybe find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. So call Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices, Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Your life, your goals, your legacy. With a dedicated Fidelity advisor, it's all part of a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Visit Fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE, SIPC.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Choose Syntec Full Synthetic Motor Oil designed for today's engines exclusively at your O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Go to 965thefan.com for the fiery Hot Sevens contest, where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing, all thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch all the shows from your phone, desktop, or tablet. Your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
Basketball madness comes to KC for the NAIA Men's College Basketball Championship, March 20th through the 25th at Municipal Auditorium. 16 teams, 15 games, one national champion. Bring the family for nonstop action and affordable tickets. Get yours today at NAIAHoops.com. We'll get to the trash of the day here in about 15 minutes or so, but we've thrown out different names at wide receiver. The news yesterday that Tyler Lockett's been cut. Christian Kirk's been cut. We all know Hollywood Brown, obviously, is somebody that has ties to the Chiefs organization. He's a free agent. So I just want to give you a couple names, and you guys can tell me if you would be in on any of them or who you would just pick between the three. And understand, like, there's different financial costs, although I think these three names are fairly similar to what they could bring on the market.
I think they're a few $1 million apart.
Yeah, Christian Kirk is one of the names, and he might get a little bit more. But Kirk, Hollywood Brown, Darius Slayton. I guess you want me to throw in Tyler Lockett, I can as well, if you think it's in the same ballpark. But the other three are younger wide receivers. Considering what the cost is, do you have a preference? Who would you pick on that list? My answer still is Hollywood Brown because I think it's a one-year deal. I think it's pretty cost-effective. And I do know that we don't have to sit here and talk in in June, July, August, and be like, it could take him some time to pick up this offense. No, he knows the damn offense. It's not Christian Kirk coming in like, the first month of the season, we just don't know. He's we're going to air Andy Reid's press conference. It'll be week 3. He's working in. We're working him in. Just going to take some time to get comfortable in this. I don't want to hear any of that crap. So give me Hollywood Brown back for a year so he's ready to go right away.
So I thought about it because, the perfect offensive scheme fit is probably Christian Kirk, but him and Rashee Rice do a lot of the same stuff. And he's going to be the most expensive. He's coming off an injury, but a collarbone one. It's not like he tore his knee out or anything. So there's reason to think he'd be fine for week 1. But considering the cost, I think my answer is Darius Slayton. And the reason is not because I'm down on Hollywood Brown, as much as it is he'll be the cheapest, not by much. $1 million, $2 million bucks, maybe gold. And he'll be a 1-year deal, similar to what you said. But more importantly is, this is a really weird needle to thread. I want a wide receiver who can run number 2 wide receiver work for 4 to 6 weeks, then get the hell out of the way, and with the possibility of you getting even more out of the way, 4 or 5 weeks after that, if I draft a rookie wide receiver and I want to see them more. Yeah. I want a guy I can phase out, but that I can trust to do the job long enough to phase him out. And Darius Slayton feels like a phase-out guy. He feels like I bring him in. He's had 700, 800-yard seasons. He had 39 catches last year, 50, 46. He's in that range, right? He's a 50-yard, or not a 50. He's like a 40-catch guy. I just kind of want to cycle someone in to phase back out because my offense is
why Hollywood Brown's
Rice,
a 1 year.
Worthy, and yeah. But I feel like he's harder to phase out. And then,
the minute he wants a multi-year deal, I think he's out. Even this offseason, if he wants
phase out in the middle of this season.
I'm
trying to get it to Rice and Worthy and Kelsey. I'm trying to get the ball. My offense, I'm trying to focus on that and not. And it's not phase out's relative.
Yeah, I hear you. For me, it's not the names. If Hollywood Brown is effective for the first 8 weeks of the season, then I want him to still be involved in the offense. It's not even some of it is just the names. I know the names pop out there and all that. But if Hollywood Brown is effective for 2 months of the season, then I want him to still be. I don't want to phase him out just because we're told that Travis Kelce has to be part of the offense. If Kelsey's not effective for 2 months, this won't be the case, by the way. He will be. But in this hypothetical, if he's not effective for 2 months and Hollywood Brown is, I don't want to keep trying to force something to happen that's not going to happen. So I think they'll naturally just that stuff works itself out. No, I don't want them to sign any free agent wide receiver on a multi-year deal. Honestly, I don't.
You don't want Devontae Adams coming here for 3.
My problem with Devontae Adams, other than age, even though I think he'll go somewhere and have 1,000 yards, he's the guy that has to have the ball. Has to have the ball. And what you just said is you want Rice, Worthy, and Kelsey. He's he's the opposite of what you just said. Devontae Adams isn't going to come to Kansas City and be a guy that's just going to get the 3rd most targets on the team. Devontae Adams wants to be the dude still, in my opinion. That's why I don't think it works in Kansas City.
Is there a familiarity aspect of this that we should look at with Hollywood being in the system? And yes, he didn't play the whole time, but him having
5 games.
But him having been in it and that familiarity. Not that Darius Slayton can't catch on or Christian Kirk can't catch on, but having Hollywood know the system, have everything down, along with I think we can agree that Christian Kirk would be the most expensive, correct?
Yes,
I believe.
But I'm with you on the familiarity. That's how I started the convo with Hollywood Brown. I'm with you. I think his familiarity
that's why
with
you
the
pick
offense,
him.
if I can say that word ever.
I guess and this would be a question probably better for a coach, but it's how much familiarity do you get by just sitting in a meeting and playing a small handful of games?
In terms of the playbook, at least, I think that he at least has it down.
I think it matters. So we're not sitting here.
But it's not as good
as
playing the entire time. It's
I'd say it's not. But he knows the playbook.
I think it's half. You know what I'm saying? It's half familiarity for me is where I end up ranking it.
He knows the playbook though. I don't want to be sitting here in week 3 and it's Andy Reid's press conference, as I said, and it's hey, what do you see? Why is Hollywood maybe, how can you get it more involved? Oh, it's just taking some time. Christian Kirk's, he's got it's a new offense, it's just going to take some time for him
the same thing
to
as
get
a rookie.
comfortable with Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't want to hear any of that crap.
I don't think it's quite that bad. I don't think it's quite as bad.
A veteran just knows more than a rookie would, but I'm with you on the familiarity thing. I can't say that.
I think
familiarity.
Brutal.
It's a tough
Brutal.
Familiarity.
You should probably just stop saying it. Do something else.
Comfort with
Comfort
the offense.
in the offense. There you go.
Today I'm not able to say that word. So.
I think it makes
switch it up.
It makes more sense, I think, to bring in, because if you say they bring in Christian Kirk or Darius Slayton, does that make drafting a wide receiver imperative for them still? Where I think Hollywood Brown, you bring him in, he knows the system well enough where you don't have to rely on that rookie at all whatsoever. You can still draft one and develop him. Where if you bring in Christian Kirk or Darius Slayton, do you almost have to bring in somebody else because of the way that the Chiefs seem to
bring somebody
work?
else anyway. Wide receivers are going to run 6 deep. There'll be some other veteran that's the McCole Hardman level, or it'll just be Sky Moore somehow again, or
I think Justin Watson is on. I would say Justin Watson's on the team next year. If I had to guess,
it's like
he's
special
on.
teams guy.
The end of it's not the hard part. And look, phase out is relative, right? I'm not just saying they don't play any snaps at all. It's just
his target share goes down.
Yeah, the person week 10. I think the person who they bring in a free agent wide receiver is a 3 target per game guy. And you might just say, hey, screw it. 3 targets per game, that's enough for Hollywood Brown to be dangerous because he can run down the field. He's got speed. Those things are available to him, like all those things. And I'd listen to that. I really would. I was just thinking of it more as if your 3 snaps are a game, I want you in 4 wide sub packages, and I think you can get a first. And I'm not saying Hollywood can't do that. It just feels like Slayton is the cheap option to do what I want to do, and I'm not quite as desperate for wide receiver as I normally am. As you know, normally I am very pro. Go get a big team wide receiver, go get this. I'm just really a big believer in what Rice and Worthy can do together.
Yeah, I don't want multi-year.
I'm not necessarily trying to disrupt that flow.
Yeah, I don't want multi-year free agent wide receiver on this team. I'll sign a 1-year deal with somebody in the market, and I'll draft one in the middle rounds, and I'm happy with that heading into the upcoming season. We'll get to the trash of the day in about 8 minutes or so, but let's go to Arizona for a little bit, talk some spring training, our spring training coverage on 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by Park & Go, KC's premier airport parking destination. So much discussion around MJ Melendez and Jonathan India and Michael Massey and Michael Garcia, all guys that could potentially be working in the outfield. MJ for sure, he'll have the first crack at that, but some of these other guys. So who do you think actually plays the most games period in 2025? Because just yesterday, just yesterday when we were discussing Michael Garcia, we were saying, hey, there's a chance his playing time, I think, could dip quite a bit from a year ago. Who plays the most games? This is very easy for me, and I think you'll have the same answer. And the text line 913-586-7965. Jonathan India, he's going to be leading off probably for 150 plus games if he stays healthy for this for this baseball team.
He'll play the most,
right? So Jonathan India is number 1 who plays the most games. After that, I still think it's MJ Melendez. I still think
this is where it gets interesting,
because my answer being Melendez is on opening day he's the left fielder. He is still going to have to fail at the plate. And I'm not just saying this because he looks good right now in spring training at the plate the last couple days. I would go MJ 2, Massey 3, and I think Michael plays the least out of the group.
So based on previous seasons, you would be bang on for pretty much, other than Michael actually plays quite a bit of games, generally speaking. You'd be pretty close to accurate. Maybe Michael would be the guy who actually probably played more or the same amount as MJ Melendez the last couple of years, but they were phasing him out in some starts at the end of last year. I think India's won by a mile. Okay, so I think he's the stalwart. They're going to find him in a lineup 99.9% of the time, largely because they need him to play offense and to get on base in order for their offense to work. I'm going to take Massey second.
Okay.
The reason why is that, MJ Melendez is having a really good spring. He's hitting 300. He's got a couple homers, hit a homer yesterday. I'm not saying it's like he can't perform at that level. It's just, I think that they'll find more ways to use Massey and more reasons to keep MJ out of the lineup. With Massey, because they also like his bats, similar to they like MJ's, they'll be like, well, we do kind of want him in the lineup today, so second or third or left, or he's going to steal from all the other guys. And just as long as his whole thing for me is health, if he stays healthy, I think he plays the second most amount of games. And I guess for me, and I could just be way off here, I feel like he's managing it better. Played 129 games 2 years ago. That doesn't seem out of the question for me based on that. And according to what he himself said on this show, he should be healthier playing a position when he feels out there in left field because he's not bending over to get ground balls. He says that that's when he gets hurt the most. The best year MJ played was 148 2 years ago. Played 135 last year. I think those guys would be close, but I'll give MJ the edge. Massey the edge. So I think it's India, Massey, MJ. And then, we all agree that even though Maikel Garcia has been a full-time starter for this team, he feels like the guy who gets out of the lineup every day, and he ends up being a 110-game player.
Yeah.
100-game player.
Because we just know Jonathan India is playing 150 games one way or the other. No matter where he's playing 150 games or more.
Maikel Garcia played 157 games for this team last year. And we're saying he's going to play the least out of all four of those?
I think there's a real chance. Massey, the question mark, of course, is the back. Yeah, and does that hold up? That's the one. But that has to factor into your reasoning on who plays the most games. Like, there's not an injury history for Jonathan India. There's not an injury history for MJ Melendez, really, right? Like, so that has to be part of the equation and thought process. But the only sure thing is India playing the most games out of the bunch. After that, you can make a case to reorder it around however you want. For those of you on the text line, some of you saying India by a mile. Yes, they agree. They said Melendez will be dependent on whether he dips again. He has to be more consistent. Well, totally. Yeah, he's got to hit. Otherwise, they will work Massey into the left field more often.
Are we not factoring in Garcia's chances to play center any?
I just don't.
That just feels like
I don't know how realistic that is.
I don't either.
Like,
I don't know how serious they're taking it yet. I can't get a feel for it. And he's not a dramatically better player offensively than Kyle Isbell.
No.
In his best years, he is. In his best years, he's definitely better than Kyle Isbell in the sense that he gets on base more. Neither guy hits for a tremendous amount of power or anything. But what's the downgrade at center field between Isbell and Maikel Garcia today? Got to be pretty significant, doesn't it? Kyle Isbell's a really, really good defensive center fielder. I'd have a hard time imagining that would be the case. I'm just looking at Jonathan India's games played per year. He has had a little bit of injuries, but nothing major. 150, 103, 119, 151. So he's played 150 or more games twice. Maikel Garcia's most played game season's higher than that. MJ Melendez rivals that in most years. Maybe that is why you should have him instead. I feel like they're going to find a way to use Massey. Massey's the better current offensive player than MJ Melendez. So really, it's like, for me, I was deciding, you want to know the truth? I was deciding between who I thought was going to play more games and who I thought was going to have a better offensive season. And my guess is that Massey was going to have a better offensive season than MJ Melendez because I don't know whether those swing fixes are fixed.
Sure.
Is that one of those things where they might use Maikel in center to give Isbell an off day and then they'll move India to third, Massey will play second? Is that one of those things where it happens maybe 5 times to 10 times out of the year where Isbell needs a rest, they want to give it to him, and they make that move?
It's getting way more common in baseball to just, especially for a game, not like optimal lineup every day is to just put people in spots. And it's more about the lineup. It's about runs. How are we going to get runs? People think even in a bad defensive alignment, the amount of runs you can cost yourself is reduced versus the offense efficiency you can have of a lineup, right? Because it's buying wins. You're trying to buy runs. And so most teams have started to adopt this. Bryce Harper in an interview yesterday said, I'll go back into right field. They sign a first baseman. It's fine. We know Altuve's playing left, whatever, right? Everybody just kind of moves these things around. And I feel like Massey has some potential as not a super utility, but he's got 3 positions. He's got second, third, and left. India does too, but I think he'll be at second a huge majority of the time. And if he's out of the lineup, he just won't be at a different position. He'll be there. And so Massey,
I'm with you.
I can't figure out with Garcia whether or not he's in center or not.
The simple way this doesn't get jumbled is MJ Melendez
is a star again, yeah.
Is it? Or
great.
Yeah. I wish he was. It doesn't have to be a star. No. Just be a pretty average hitter
who hits 25 homers,
who has some pop. Mm-hmm. That's all you're asking for. The days of thinking he's going to be like a star, I think that part is
hit
over.
Hit 240 and hit 25 homers.
That would be great.
I'd take that this second.
As with the Royals immediately. And then if that happened, then the playing time for everybody other than India goes down drastically, in my opinion, at that point. There's also, we're banking on all these, we're talking about factoring in health, but if somebody all of a sudden early in the year has a month-long IL stint, then that changes the entire thing.
Just out of curiosity, is Bobby Witt Jr., is he the kind of spiteful type like Patrick Mahomes? Because I'm just now for the first time seeing
usually.
MLB The Show 25 put out their 99 rated players, and he's not on it.
Right, yeah.
I think he was a 96. Is that what it was?
He's 96.
Juan
correct.
Soto, Shohei, and Aaron Judge. No Bobby Witt Jr. I'd like him to use this as motivation.
That'd be great, yeah. I don't think it doesn't get talked about as much as Madden ratings, like MLB The Show ratings is not really a thing. People are like, my MLB The Show rating. Maybe a younger crop of players are going to start caring more. The Madden rating thing's been a thing for a while where people look at and take it personally and all that. MLB The Show ratings hasn't. Maybe that will shift with, Bobby Witt Jr. in being in Kansas City and being part of that rating conversation. They do updates in season. If Bobby gets off to the start that we hope he gets off to, my guess is he'll be a 99 before the end of the season. But sure, if he wants to take it personally, great.
How the hell are those three guys at 99, but Bobby isn't?
Same reason why Bobby didn't win MVP. They have a head start on the
name recognition,
name rec, and public perception. And
I mean, I'm not arguing those guys
adjusters
shouldn't be 99. Yeah. But I'm just saying Bobby.
If Bobby gets off to a good start, they'll do a little update because they do those every couple weeks or every week on MLB The Show, and it'll probably be like that.
Trash of the day.
All right, there's a new study out around people's habits. A couple different things.
Okay.
Nearly a quarter of Americans urinate in the shower on a regular basis, according to...
Let's just admit to it.
A survey, yes. They obviously can't, they weren't just standing there every day following around, making sure. A survey of 2,000 general population Americans revealed that 12% do so daily, while another do it a few times a week. 1/4 of millennials indicated that they urinate in the shower as a daily practice, compared to just 13% of Gen X, 6% of baby boomers. By gender, 30% of men do it regularly, 20% of women in total. 45% of Americans say that they have peed in the shower throughout the course of the average year.
Okay.
Are you surprised by these numbers?
No, you're all nasty. The toilet
is right there.
It's in the same
It's right there.
room. Your clothes are already off. The system is already set up in place in order for you to use the restroom.
Now, I do think
before you get in the shower.
As a guy specifically, I think you're lying if you're saying you've never done it.
I'm not saying never.
Okay.
I'm saying daily habits.
Well, daily's ridiculous.
This is an insane number.
Daily's ridiculous. Have I done it in the last calendar year? Yes. Daily,
so you're
absolutely
in that category,
not.
Yeah. Have you done it in the last calendar 6 months? We're just gonna.
No.
I don't track it.
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
I don't know how you're doing it daily though.
No,
you just go to the restroom right before you hop in the shower.
Let's just say,
right?
let's say you're daily. You get in there, and every day, first thing you do is you pee in your shower. Why don't you just make the habit to? I mean, it's right there.
Here we go. Text line is all over this. 913-586-7965. Before the text line, Drew, you didn't answer. Cody and I answered. Cody kind of answered, I think.
Do I pee in the shower daily?
No,
daily?
not.
No.
I know you don't.
Have I
daily.
ever? I said yes.
Oh, have I ever? Yeah. There's a. I don't know. I don't know the last time I did.
Okay.
But yes,
someone says text line. Wait, while showering or like going to the shower? No, you're in the shower, and while you're in there, you have the urge that you need to go, and you don't wait till after the shower. You go right there.
No, if you're going to the shower to pee, there's a serious problem.
Oh, if you're purposely turning on the shower, no. This is talking about while you're showering. Someone says the same pipe.
I'm sure that's the argument for it, right?
That's every day is gross. I know you're in a clean shower, but every day it's gross, especially if you don't live alone and you are sharing a shower with somebody else. Like Cody, you have a wife. You and your wife share the same shower. That's even worse.
The back of my toilet gets the same water that comes out of the shower. I don't bathe myself with it, okay? Like, I understand that they are the same things. They are different fundamental properties. By that same argument, why don't you just pee down your sink? Why flush the toilet off?
All right.
Because you're not already naked when you're by your sink.
That's my point. It's all just pipes. It's all just going the same place,
pipes. George Costanza. But no, okay. If you, I think you get caught in a tough spot though. If you think, okay, I don't have
spot.
Hang on. I don't have. Why am I in a tough spot?
Explain the tough spot for us.
You don't think you have to go to the bathroom? You're like, I'm just gonna take a shower and then it'll be fine.
Right.
You get in the shower, the water's running.
Yeah, hot water, all of it.
The water's
and then
running.
You gotta probably be like,
and then you have to pee. You're like, I gotta pee. You don't go. I do not wait. I would wait. I have never gone to the shower thinking I should have gone pee. Crap, I'm gonna get in anyways. I've never. Yeah. It's just come up while I'm in the shower.
Yeah, absolutely have done it. I think anybody saying they've never done it is full of crap. Every day though is a bit much. Every day is a bit much. Again, the survey says of 2,000 people, 12% say they do it daily. 45% say they've done it over the year, right? Like once or twice or whatever it is throughout the year. Other things in the same survey?
That seems like a normal number, every day. Come on.
On top of that, 27% of Americans say they sing in the shower. Cody?
I don't.
I do not.
Wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind singing in the shower, and I did used to, but I need music in there.
Okay.
And so I don't regularly bring a speaker into the bathroom in order to sing in the shower.
Be honest. Hold on. Be honest. Hold on. Be honest. You're telling me when you were working on Pasquantino or something, you did not start catch yourself. Pasquantino.
No, I don't typically do it. I'm not not against it, but it's not a regular habit for me at the moment.
Drew?
Do I have I sung in the shower?
Yeah. Do you?
Do I? No. Have I? Yes. I'm more like Cody, where if I have music in any way, shape, or form, I have a speaker.
23% say while in the shower they just plan for the day ahead, like they mentally they think out the plan. Someone else says they reflect. 19% reflect on the previous day while they're showering, like you're just in your thoughts, right? Almost 1 in 4 millennials find themselves thinking about work or crying while in the shower.
Dang!
Wow!
Maybe crying about work.
Crying about work, yeah. Last one. Someone says results also found that Americans believe the average shower should take 13 minutes. How long do you guys? I don't time myself, but that seems high. I think I'm in like an 8 to 10 minute range without timing. That's my guess.
I think I'm borderline.
8 to 10 minutes max. I think.
My showers have a varied length depending on if I just feel like standing there, right? Like sometimes I just feel like standing there.
Right. I totally agree.
You're tired, or it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter the reason. Sometimes it's for the same reason they're talking about, right? You're just thinking about stuff, so you're just sitting there. So sometimes
the warm
I'm just
water running down your neck.
Morning, sometimes I'm just in there longer.
In the morning, it's shorter though, because I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get ready to go to work. If it's a weekend. And maybe you just got done working out or whatever. You might just take much. You don't have anywhere to go. But if it's in the morning, I'm not in there to just hang out for 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
It depends on how big of a. It depends on how much stuff I got to get ready for the kids or whatever. I might stand there long. It just kind of varies. That's all.
There you go. That is the trash of the day. A new survey out today. Up next, we'll get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Talk more about the next move you want the Chiefs to make. Take left tackle out of it. What's the next move? We'll do that next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Guys, could you benefit from a little extra in the bedroom? I think we all could. Blue Chew can help. Whether you're dealing with erectile dysfunction or you're like my upstairs neighbors and just want to get it on at any time, Blue Chew is for you. Turn oh no into oh yes. Your partner wants you to do whatever it takes to make your sex life better. Blue Chew is your secret weapon for the bedroom or wherever you decide to get it on. Getting ready for work, you might have a cup of coffee. You're dinner with your in-laws, maybe something a little bit stronger. But when it comes to getting hot and heavy in the bedroom, the only thing that you need is Blue Chew. Blue Chew's tablets are a performance enhancement for the bedroom and can help men gain extra confidence when it is time to perform. It's an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Plus, it ships right to your door in a discreet package. If you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com. If you want a great offer, free sounds great, doesn't it? Go to BlueChew.com and get your first month free when you use our promo code KFNZ at checkout and just pay $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code KFNZ to receive your first month free. Then you'll be ready to chew it and do it.
At Diamonds Direct, we believe luxury is an experience and not a price tag. Luxury is expert guidance. It's the selection of 10 jewelry stores under one roof. It's saving time on endless comparison shopping, and you'll only find this experience at Diamonds Direct. Our luxury showroom has it all backed by our lifetime warranties and our signature best price guarantee. Diamonds Direct is the perfect combination of luxury and value, so you don't ever have to compromise. Learn more at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
March is officially here, and that means it's one of the best times on the sports calendar. There's no better place to celebrate that than with my friends over at The Other Place. With 5 great Kansas City locations, Shawnee, Olathe, the downtown Overland Park, Mission, and the newest one in Belton. Stop by for a one-of-a-kind game day experience with enough big screens that you'll never miss a minute of March basketball, incredible dine-in-only specials, great food, great beer, and the best place to watch the game. Be sure to stop by the other place, your home for March basketball.
Are you in need of top-quality metal for your next project? Look no further than Metal by the Foot. Whether you're a DIY enthusiast, contractor, or business owner, Metal by the Foot has the perfect solution for you. Steel, aluminum, brass, and stainless. The Foot. Blue Demon Welding Supplies, filler rods, and wire. The Foot. Bronius Professional Welding Equipment, service and repairs. The Foot. Located in KC and Topeka. Online at metalbythefoot.com. When you need a piece of metal, remember, metal doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg, just the foot.
That spice is 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Hi, my name is Khadijah, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich is that spicy kick of the chicken. It's just the right amount of heat, and it gets me excited. And then, pro tip, add that cilantro lime sauce. It cools it down. If the sandwich is at 100, the cilantro lime takes it to 200. It makes me want to, tell all my friends and family.
Order a Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich and a Diet Dr. Pepper on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone. What are you working on today?
Yeah, I need to change my oil. I want to get a full synthetic oil.
How about Pennzoil Platinum? It's the only oil made from natural gas.
Sounds great. How much for an oil filter?
Oh, that's free.
What?
The filter is free with the oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's just part of our A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Why couldn't you just wait?
I was there. I saw a drain.
Since when is a drain a toilet?
It's all pipes. What's the difference?
Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
What was that? We had our headphones off. We were talking about something before we came back from break.
Am I going to have to play it again for you guys when it fades down? Hang on. Let me fade down
until I hear the Chiefs Red Half Hour sounder, my headphones aren't on.
Turn my mic on. I got to wear headphones enough in this world. I try not to wear them during the break.
I have no idea what you played. I'm guessing it was in relation to the shower.
Why couldn't you just wait?
I was there. I saw a drain.
Since when is a drain a toilet?
It's all pipes. What's the difference?
Thank you for that.
That's essentially the argument the text line's making.
Yeah. It's the same thing, you know?
It's all pipes.
If you missed it, that was our trash of the day last segment. All right, let's get back to the Chiefs a little bit. It is the Chiefs Red Half Hour. It's Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you here on 96.5 The Fan. So let's take left tackle out of this hypothetical for a second. What's the next move you want the Chiefs to make when the league year opens up, when the legal tampering opens up in the NFL? Because we all know left tackle will likely be that first move one way or the other. There's a decent chance. For me, it's just solidify the wide receiver room and just be done with it. So the names that we were discussing in the top of the hour, for me in particular, it's Go bring back Hollywood Brown in particular. I guess if it's Christian Kirk, I won't be upset. But bring back Hollywood Brown, and then Rice, Worthy, Brown, Kelsey, good to go. And in the draft, I can just go draft my explosive running back. I can draft another wide receiver in the mid-round.
Just get a guy in day one.
Then I just know my wide receiver room has 2 guys still on a rookie deal, 1 guy on another 1-year deal. His last year probably in Kansas City, and Hollywood Brown. Yes, Sky Moore's under contract. He can be at training camp. He can compete for the final spot, whatever. And then I can consider bringing back Justin Watson if I want at some point this offseason. But my first move outside of left tackle would be that. Just be done with wide receiver.
I don't hate it. And I told you earlier that corner is really a position of need. I think we probably have under-discussed at Kansas City because we've spent so much time talking about the offensive line and the Tooney deal and then Trey Smith and obviously what are they going to do at left tackle and all this other stuff. So I think corner's probably been under-discussed, especially because they got picked on during the regular season last year. If there was one flaw they regularly exposed defensively, it was that they didn't have another corner they could trust. And so guys like Najee Johnson had to go out there and get smoked. Or Jalen Watson was like, okay. But again, these are 7th round. It's a 7th round corner and a 4th round corner. You're counting on what? To be your long-term answers forever? I just think you need another person there. I would do that first. But I could easily be talked into the very first move you should do next, what is it, Tuesday, Wednesday? When's it open up? Tuesday?
Legal tampering, I thought was Monday. I could be off.
The second Monday, legal tampering opens up. I can make an argument for calling Charles Omenihu.
Yeah.
That should be your very first call to any player, to any agent. Should be, hey, Charles, what up? We know, but the only problem with Omenihu, which I think is different than maybe some of these other guys, not that I think everybody's not trying to get top dollar is, I think Omenihu is very much in this mode where he might end up on a bad team because he knows this might still only be the one big check he gets. And I feel like of all the other players, even more than Hollywood, even more than the corners I'm talking about, or some of these wide receivers that are available, I feel like there's a chance he could end up on a bad team just to make sure he gets his check.
Yeah, I was going to find the old – we had some audio we played a couple weeks ago. Charles Omenihu was on with Kay Adams and mentioned his first priority was, win, right? He wants to play in big games and all that. But then he also mentioned, I got to take care of my family. And last year, as you kind of alluded to, even off of ACL, he wanted a contract extension then. Well, now he came back, was effective when he played, and so, yeah, he might want to be able to go out there and get paid. People saying, hey, a defensive end should be the number one priority.
That's why I mentioned a minute ago.
Yeah. You said corner earlier in the show.
I'm just saying, I was like, that's why I mentioned them second. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's multiple areas, right? Like that's the whole point of this conversation is that there are multiple avenues they could go. They've got multiple holes that they have to fill for this offseason. The question is prioritize. For me, like the defensive line, calling Charles Omenihu, I don't know if that has to be a day one thing is my only thing. Like I could see they could have their plan. I also think they could draft a defensive lineman in the first round.
I guess I'll offer this question as like a follow-up to this because this is how I was viewing it, and we all, like when we give these things, we start doing these things like a little bit different, right? And we view them different. What do you think as it sits right now, March 6th? What is the single weakest unit on the entire roster? Other than left tackle, we've excluded from this conversation.
Defensive line.
That's where you and I think,
but I don't think they're going to
corner might be too. I think wide receiver might be the second strongest.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to be in the big game. I don't think they're going to be in the big free agent market at defensive line and signing a huge free agent. It's going to either bring back Turk Warden, Charles Omenihu, or a player that we haven't mentioned but is in that same realm. Like they're not. I don't think they're trading for Myles Garrett, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, I would be pretty stunned by that.
No, I don't think so either. I just meant, do you make it a priority? Even though it's not, you're not going to get the biggest name, but is it the biggest priority because you're short 2 men on your defensive line? You're short Turk and Omenihu. Yes, you can replace one of those guys in the draft. Maybe 2, if you got it really right, but Turk took years to develop. So probably 1 in the draft, which means you need 1 more to make sure that you're a good, stable force on the defensive line. And I guess that's where corner and defensive line, I think those are worse positions than wide receiver. And at wide receiver, I like my options better. As in, let's just say they didn't go out and that wasn't my day one plan and it wasn't Hollywood Brown. As I got down the options, I still don't hate my options. I might hate my options if I get past some of the guys I'm familiar with and like at defensive line. It gets grainier faster is all. That might be why I'd consider that instead. But this is why I like this conversation. There's so many Like, I can hear out several arguments, and there's going to be some people who be like, go get a guard. And they're going to say they don't want Kingsley at left. You and I are not on that camp.
Kingsley's going to be the
But
left
I
guard
see
for
somebody
this team.
answering that on the text line, and I'm not surprised that some people are offering that.
Running back is an area I think they need to address. I just think they can do it in the draft. Like, we've talked about them getting more explosive at that position. I'm not all that excited to go, sign a veteran free agent running back to be the guy, because if you draft a guy at 4th round, let's say 3rd round, explosive back, rookie contract, paired up with Pacheco, I think that is a much better fit than going and signing, Drew, you mentioned Aaron Jones, who they could be interested in, because I think Fesco was reporting at one point that they were interested in looking at veteran running backs. Aaron Jones would fit that. He's 30. Does he have the explosiveness left? Or are we going to be sitting here talking midway through the season like, oh, yeah, he just doesn't have – they just don't have the guy that can pop a 10-yard run into a 30-yard run. They haven't had that in their back pocket in a while.
I would listen to that, but I also I feel like anytime you're like, I want a young, explosive back, well, then you're talking about the draft, sir. You're not talking about like,
that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah. I was like, you're not talking like if you made that a free agency point. You're not finding that in the free agency. What you find in free agency is the 4.5 yard per carry guy. Unless I get it, like Mostert or some of these other guys who've been big run guys, but then it's like a scheme fit and you're just kind of running into these things where, like, I'm not saying home run hitters don't exist in free agency or running back. They're just far less. And
Well, in
if
terms
that's
of,
what
like-
you're seeking, I would just go to the draft to get it. I'd feel like right now, if you made me predict, I feel almost convinced their 3rd round is going running back with the 1st pick and linebacker with the 2nd. I could be off here. That just feels like almost automatically
feels
what
like
it's going
it.
to be.
The reason why wide receiver was number 1 for me is I know we can feel good about Rice and Worthy, and when no reason you shouldn't. There still has to be, 4, 5, 6 receivers on the roster, and right this second they have Sky Moore, who a lot of us think will end up being a camp cut. Justin Watson's not on the roster anymore, so it's Sky Moore. Unless we
Worthy,
include
Rice.
That's it, technically. Yes, we can go on the practice squad and talk about Nico Remigio and things like. But I'm talking about truly under contract. It's Rice, Worthy, and Sky Moore. So that's why it's pretty high on the list of like going. They need to acquire another one. I think they can do one in the draft and then one in free agency.
People are saying from the 816, I think the number 1 price should be try to trade for Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be fun. The money that you're going to then tie up on that too. You're going to give up draft picks too on top of it. Remember, so give up a draft pick and pay him.
Got to be a 1st, right?
I would think so.
Probably the 31, I would say, for this
I
year.
mean, I
For
will
the Browns,
say,
you'd ask for one this year.
Myles Garrett and Chris Jones together the same
Be awesome.
defensive line.
That'd
would
be awesome.
Incredible.
It would be pretty awesome to watch.
Feels like your defense. I almost don't feel like you need anybody to play in the back 7. Do you even need linebackers and corners if they can't physically throw the ball?
What do you think it would take to actually get Miles? Is it
A 1st?
Is there anything
next
else?
Year's 3rd.
I wonder
multiple picks.
If they figure out left tackle, or if they think that it's if they go the DJ Humphries route, I think there's a way that you maybe could finagle that making some serious sense. If it's just going to be a 1st round, if you're going to use it on an edge rusher anyways, why not get Myles Garrett, who is maybe the best defender in all of football, period?
Yeah.
And then
I think the Chiefs are way more likely, it sounds so simple, it's not, but way more likely to, in their mind, go find the next Myles Garrett in the draft than actually trade for the current Myles Garrett.
Are they picking too high to even to do that, though?
Oh, I'm saying is the likelihood of them finding that is slim. I think that would be their mentality of sure. We'd rather just
We'll take our time trying to find.
Yeah, we're going to go try
Garrett.
Versus go pay for him at the peak of his value, which is what you're doing if you trade for him.
Yeah, and then if we fall short and we end up with the next, George Karlaftis, oh well, could be worse, right?
Yeah. The only way the Myles Garrett market gets a little softer would just be if somebody says, oh, we'll take 60-70% of him, which is Joey Bosa, and we'll just sign Joey Bosa. Although, as we discussed earlier, reports are that maybe he wants to play with his brother in San Francisco. The favorites to land Myles Garrett offshore markets have been the Eagles, the Commanders, the Bills, and the Chargers, if you just look at the offshore odds.
Pretty good timing. Wait. Have
draft.
people made mock drafts since the Chiefs traded Joe Tooney?
Dude, they're making these
every
mock
day.
drafts every single day. Sometimes I'm convinced they do 2 a day. Be sure to check out the Character Concerns podcast as well. As Bink and Chris will be putting out new mock drafts frequently as well.
There's a new one seemingly out every single day. So instead of doing a 3-rounder or a 7-rounder, I'm going to do 2 1-rounders for you. 2 different picks.
So you're going to give us 2 different picks in the 1st round?
2 different picks.
And
from
these
2
are new
different people.
mocks?
Yes, these came out today post Joe Tooney trade. So the first one I will give you is one from Sports Illustrated. This one came out actually yesterday, right after the news. It came out shortly afterwards from Brian Fisher over at Sports Illustrated. even though they trade Joe Thuney. Brian Fisher has them taking Donovan Jackson, offensive lineman from Ohio State. His reasoning for doing so says...
What's he project to be? Guard or tackle?
He says guard in this description. He played more tackle last year, but if you go back and you look at his Pro Football Focus, first 2 years at Ohio State played only left guard. His reasoning is, after tagging Dre Smith and trading Joe Thuney to the Bears, Jackson will be slotted right away at guard, showcasing his ability to kick outside in a pinch during Ohio State's national title run will only enhance Jackson's value as a potential option. So I think his ability to play left tackle, not that you would want to do that, but you draft him in the first round, he's playing left tackle or left guard. Your offensive line is slotted right away where Kingsley is a backup option for whatever's needed.
I hate that.
I don't know how to put it nicely.
Here's why I hate it.
No, absolutely not.
It is
not
interesting.
interested.
He mentions it post Thuney and post Trey Smith.
Yeah, I spent a second-round pick on Kingsley last year. We all know the guard thing or the tackle thing didn't work out after 2 games. He likely is their guard, so I can still say I didn't waste that second-round pick. I gave Trey Smith what will end up being the largest contract for a guard in NFL history already. Then I'm going to go spend my premium first-round pick on another guard? No, that's awful. I don't think there's any chance that happens.
Hate it. Look, if it were for I would listen, let's just say it, and he won't go nearly as low, but let's just say at 31 they took like Mimbo. And they were like, you know what? This is another offensive line we're putting in the mix right now just to compete and be in the mix. And he is probably he's Juwan Taylor's replacement next year. I'd hate doing a year off on a first-round pick. You know, generally I don't like projects, but at least if it's a tackle, I can hear it out. But left guard, ugh. What's the other one? Is it better?
The other one is a different position. This one is from our guy, Chris Trapasso, over at CBS Sports.
This is the guy.
Chris Trapasso. Is he still charging $5 to come on?
This is the guy from a couple of years ago. His wife had the Etsy page, and he was charging $5 to come do radio hits, which is something you don't do. It's pretty funny. And yeah, that was that same guy.
So Chris Trapasso did not go offensive line, did not go defensive line, did not go defense at all. He goes wide receiver Jalen Noel from Iowa State, Kansas City guy from KC Mo. He's 5'10", 194 pounds, had a really good combine, almost had 1,200 yards last year, 8 touchdowns, really good player, had one of the highest RAS scores in its history of being calculated, 144th out of 3,441 RAS. Height and weight, a little bit undersized, smaller, 5'10", 190, but everything else peaks out.
That's classic, Handy.
Everything else vertical, his shuttle, his 40 split, everything showcases him potentially being a really good wide receiver.
Man, so back-to-back years with first-round wide receivers, and the year before that, you spent a second-round pick on Rashee Rice. So in 3 straight years, you're going to go second-round, first-round, wide receiver? I mean, they do have other needs, and they got the other 2 wide receivers right. Like, normally, Gold, if you're doing this a third time in a row, you're doing it a third time in a row because you didn't get the other 2 right. You got the other 2 right. Like, they are good NFL wide receivers, maybe potentially great in some of their cases, NFL wide receivers. I mean, I hate this less than guard.
Drop 7% of his pass. Drop rate 7%. That's a little scary.
I don't know. Somebody's telling us short arms on the guard guy, so.
I mean,
throughout his career, drop rate is 7.2, projects as a wide receiver 3 role, best case scenario in the NFL.
That's what you want.
Who's that?
Noel.
Yeah, not a first-round pick, I don't.
Now, this is fun. This is funny. The pro comp, this is from Bleacher Report scout Dame Parson. The comp is funny because it's a name we just discussed in free agency. Who do you think they comped him to? Anybody? Any guesses?
Christian Kirk?
Christian Kirk.
The guy that you said you wanted. You know?
Yeah. Now, the other, can I tell you another sites comp? Bruce Ellington. Ever heard of that dude?
I'm sorry.
No, my point is that the comps, that's why we always laugh about the comps. Like, Bruce Ellington is the comp.
Listen here.
That's from Lance Zerline over at NFL Network.
Lance. Nobody's impressed by your deep, random pull of wide receiver. Can you just give us a comp of somebody's ever heard of? How long did that guy even play in the league? Bruce Ellington?
He's 33 now.
He's in the league?
No. He's a former player. He was a bust, basically.
Yes, he was a bust. His best season was
330 yards.
You do not have to.
He played 4 years in the league.
Does not have to be Bruce Ellington.
Well, by the way, if that is the comp, that means I don't want to draft him. He's out of the league in 4 years, so I'm good. I don't want my first round pick to be out of the league in 4 years. I'm out. Thank you.
Who are you trying to show off to, though? That's all I'm pointing out. But like if you're Lance Zierlein, you're sitting around your house, you're making your little thing, you want clicks and content, and you're going through this stuff. What do you got? You got stock and people getting to his page on Pro Football Reference? Well, why the hell are you making a Bruce Ellington reference? Nobody cares.
The thing
Nobody
that's funny
knows
is that it doesn't, based on everything that we've said, it doesn't make sense that he would be a first-round pick.
No.
If his peak is third round, is a number 3 wide receiver, but essentially, but you can.
These draft guys like him. I saw some people over on on YouTube was saying he'll be available at 66. Why would you take him at 31?
I was going to say if you're going to I think
like any of us know.
You're right. What his comp is, what his peak is what the Chiefs need, but not as a first round pick to get a wide receiver 3. That's not what you need. They need a wide receiver 3.
I hate both of these.
If you get a wide receiver 3 in the second or third round, then all of a sudden we're talking a little bit more.
At pick, if this kid's there in the second or third round, sure, no problem. All good. Not at pick 31. And this is not even as bad as the first one that you read from whatever site that was. The
Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated.
Was
that an AI mock draft? Because AI got a little confused why the Chiefs might want a guard at 31. It makes no sense.
Well, I mentioned it yesterday. Like not that I'd be surprised, but I think it goes to, if they do, let's say they draft Donovan Jackson. It shows you that Kingsley they do not think that he has it. But based on what Burt Beach has said, you would think that they're going to try Kingsley at guard, so picking one at 31 doesn't make it. I think everything points to them picking defensive line makes the most sense unless Luther Burden falls or unless somebody's there.
I mean,
like Tyler Warren somehow, anything like that. There are exceptions, but I think defensive line is where they got to go.
I know when we sit there for our eventual draft party that I'm sure we'll have and everything when that gets announced. I know everybody wants the Chiefs to make a pick versus sitting there for 3 hours and nothing happening, but deep down, unless somebody like that falls, I'm totally in the camp this year of trade out of the first round, and much easier to say to do that than it is because someone has to want to trade in. But trade down, stockpile another pick in the top 100, Brett Veach, or whatever, and use those to move up.
Instead of getting 4 guys, get 5 guys in the top 100 and make the most of it.
That's what I would do if they were in that spot. We'll see.
I want a third one. I don't like either of those.
Picking a wide receiver
like
3,
a defensive lineman,
Picking a wide receiver 3 in the first round, picking a guard that's not needed in the first round. Neither one of those make a whole lot of sense to me.
The Chiefs put out their own mock drafts now these days. You know that?
Do they really?
Yeah.
The individual teams themselves? How about
the Chiefs do. I don't know if every team
Is it from
does.
our guy? Is it from our guy Matt
it's
McMullen?
From Matt McMullen. He actually had his out.
Okay, what does he have?
Let's see. Oh, you know what? I take it back. He's just aggregating everybody's. I thought he was giving his own.
I apologize. That'd be pretty surprising if the team was putting out their own mock draft.
My God, let's go.
So
that could just be his opinion.
There's 2 that came out today. Mentioned Joe Thuney, but they also have him taking Josh Connolly, offensive tackle at Oregon. Like, this is a constant thing.
At least the tackle, I don't like it, but at least the tackle is it's still a tackle versus a guy that's playing guard.
Is there not one edge guy who goes at 31, or what's going on here?
There's enough talent there to take an edge guy. Again, there's another one, offensive tackle. I've looked at 5 different mock drafts since we talked about this. It's all offensive tackle.
They really don't. I take it as the national news to not like the Joe Thuney trade.
It's because everybody knows that the Chiefs need a left tackle, so they're just going to keep putting until the Chiefs sign one in free agency. They're going to keep putting them taking one, even though we've discussed why taking one in the first round doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's not a good tackle draft, and if they at 31, I don't believe you're finding your starting left tackle.
Okay, I finally found one.
Nice,
finally.
Come on.
The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
I hope he played at Georgia, because then I know he's good.
I forgot to mention this in Combine stuff. This is the number 1 story probably out of the Combine. He was the talk of the town. Nick Emanwari, safety from South Carolina.
You did talk about him.
I know it's a safety, but he had a 10 out of 10 RAS score. He was insanely good. If he's available at 31, and they're in the position to just take best available, they should take him even though they already have the safeties because the dude he was incredibly good in that combine. I think he jumped his stock probably from second round to mid-first over the weekend. It was very good.
I'll pay attention to
it. It was impressive.
But about safety in the first, it's got to be a good one.
There is a non-tackle, non-wide receiver for you. Finally found one from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
I can't believe not a single person thinks the Chiefs are taking defensive line in the first round so far. Give it time.
It's early.
We're still what? 2 months?
A month and a half.
A
month and 3 weeks, essentially.
Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
But Pat McAfee said he's not going to be there.
That's right.
Draft canceled, everybody.
Mid-management treated him so poorly. It wasn't good enough for his ego or whatever. So he's not going to go. They're going to take their bags and go back home to the Thunderdome. They actually call it that.
Back in Indy?
Oh, I was like, is that a thing?
They call it. That's their studio. And look, Pat McAfee is extremely talented, very successful, but it's just a terrible look when you're whining about not being given special treatment. Sorry. It's a bad look.
It's one of those things I would just do behind closed doors. Yeah. I'm not saying I've ever felt like we couldn't have better circumstances in which to broadcast, but I'm not taking that to the streets. I'm not putting it out there and being like, middle management screwed me over. Also, has he never dealt with middle management before? That's what they do. They slow the wheels of motion, my guy. That's the point. That's their place in life. That's what they exist here for. I was just laughing at that. I hadn't heard that. You guys had played that briefly for me this morning. I was like, what? And then they were the ones who posted the clip. I was like, wait, did they post this clip? And you're like, yeah, they posted this
They
clip.
were at the Combine in Indy, right? And they had a stage set up or whatever. Apparently, they didn't like the way they were treated when they were doing their show in the stadium. So they're taking their bags and going home. And they're not going to go to the draft. They're going to punish the NFL.
Where do they even have they gone to previous drafts? Like, were they here in Kansas City?
No, but last year they were in where was that last year, guys?
Was it Detroit?
It was Detroit. I think you're right. It's in Pittsburgh the year after this one. I think something like that.
Is that right? You think KC will give another one again?
Maybe in the next 20 years.
New stadium pulling out there.
I think it'd be cool seeing Titletown have it.
Within the next 20 years, I think we'll get another one.
Is that where it's going to be? The draft for this year is Titletown. Like they're just going to have it out.
I assume so.
It'd be a cool spot.
I mean, there's really nowhere else to. I mean, I don't know where else you're going to put it. There, right. It's got to be near the stadium and stuff. Otherwise, it's just a normal smaller town. You know what I mean? Like there's no other.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. It's which I had a great time when I was in Green Bay. I think it'll be an awesome host city. I mean, the way the Titletown was set up and the bars right there and rooftop bars, it was terrific. Hope the weather is good for those that are going to be out there in Wisconsin. End of April still could be pretty brutal. We got so lucky when the draft was here. It was gorgeous. That Saturday and Sunday, or that Saturday in particular, I should say.
I think he's. I just think sometimes you get lucky. That and like the World Series parade with the Royals, the two luckiest weather days maybe in the city. Just stunning weather, considering everybody had to be outside.
Up next, we'll get to what's trending, and for once, somebody is a favorite to win a major award, and it's not Patrick Mahomes. We'll tell you who it is next.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-390-4605. 800-390-4605. 800-390-4605.
Some people just know they can save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. Like you know to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no. Wait, whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So if you want to save money, check Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on it every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to the A to Z savings event at AutoZone. What are you working on today?
Yeah, I need to change my oil. I want to get a full synthetic oil.
How about Pennzoil Platinum? It's the only oil made from natural gas.
Sounds great. How much for an oil filter?
Oh, that's free.
What?
The filter is free with the oil.
Free? Really?
Really, free. It's just part of our A to Z savings event at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Go to 965thefan.com for the Fiery Hot Sevens contest, where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing, all thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery. Come join us for the Royals Roundtable, plus meet and greet with Michael Massey and Kyle Isbell at Hollywood Casino Friday, March 28th, starting at 6. Your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. NFL news today in the AFC West. The Chargers cutting veteran defensive end Joey Bosa. That's obviously to free up quite a bit of money. Reports are he could join his brother in San Francisco. Also, Deshaun Watson restructured his deal with the Browns. Gives them $36 million in cap space this year. They still have an $81 million cap hit next year.
And $135 million in dead cap to cut him, so he's not leaving.
And also, in the last couple of minutes, the 49ers have informed defensive tackle Javon Hargrave that he'll be released the first day of the league year. That's next week. He'll become a free agent. Remember, he at one point was like a big acquisition from Philadelphia for them. They've traded Debo. Reports are they're willing to trade Brandon Ayuk. They're now cutting Javon Hargrave. We know Brock Purdy's in line for a big extension. That's a team that's going to look a lot different moving forward in San Francisco.
I still think Kyle Shanahan's a really good coach, but they are clearly in a reset mode, no doubt about it. Next up on What's Trending, MU lost to Oklahoma last night, 84-96, outscored by 15 or so in the first half. By their outscored Oklahoma in the second half, but just couldn't make enough of a comeback. K-State got back on the winning side of ways, though. They beat Cincinnati 54-49. They're currently the 9 or 10 seed in the Big 12 tournament. So they'll play early. They'll play Tuesday, most likely.
Yeah, that's locked in no matter what. It's just what time slot they're going to be in. Elsewhere, former Chiefs center Mitch Morse announced he is retiring from football. I remember he was with the Jags this past year. It's crazy to think that he's already played a 10-plus year career. He obviously did not play in Kansas City as long as everybody maybe initially thought when they drafted him. He was somebody that they moved on from, didn't want to pay. They said, well, we can go draft this rookie center named Creed Humphrey. We think we'll be okay.
They were right. They are okay, and now as a result of that, Mitch Morse had a little bit of those concussion stuff come up late. He had a really good career. He played 143 games in the NFL. He made a good amount of money. And just as a side note, as somebody who got to cover him and talk to him a lot, he is a super nice person. And just be clear, I would not say that about every person we cover or work with. Some people are just jerks. He is not. He's a great person. Next up on What's Trending, Russell Wilson is unlikely to land with the Raiders, according to beat writers over in that area. I guess we'd all kind of thought that was a decent fit. So what are they down to? Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers?
Should be Darnold.
It's that or they're starting Aiden O'Connell another year. They think they can get up to number 2 to take Shadur Sanders, because I can't figure out where their plan is at quarterback. I would have thought Russell Wilson was at least in the mix. Now, they said not 0%. They just said unlikely.
Of course, lastly on What's Trending, it is the lunch hour here on 96.5 The Fan. Of course, lunch hour during Cody and Gold brought to you by Jefferson's. They have a new happy hour that's here to save you money. 7 days a week, enjoy half off appetizers, half off your bar tab at Jefferson's Lenexa, and of course the North Kansas City Jefferson's location as well. Half off your bar tab, both locations during happy hour. Here in about 40 minutes, we'll check in with Josh Vernier, our Royals insider out in Surprise, Arizona. Tonight at 6 o'clock, he's got his hot stove show. We'll find out what he has planned for the show tonight. He always has some great guests, so I'm sure there'll be some Royals players that he'll have a chance to chat with. You want to catch that as we get closer and closer slowly to opening day in Kansas City. And we'll talk with Vern about MJ Melendez's recent success in the minors, in the spring training, I should say. And is that something that we should expect to translate over to the regular season? Or is it truly one of those like, hey, it beats the alternative, but definitely need to see it in the big leagues before anybody gets too excited? And maybe we'll have an update on Salvador Perez, who left yesterday's game with like a cut.
Eye laceration?
Pretty deep cut, I guess, underneath his eye. Hopefully it's not no bone fracture or anything like that. It's just hopefully a deep cut. I think Vern this morning, I was listening driving in to Fesco Desi described it at the time as maybe like a boxer's cut, like one of those good boxer deep cuts.
Got to get those, whatever those things are that the stone-looking things they like rub on your face.
That's not as much for the cut as like the sweat, like the swelling, right? Well,
whatever the hell
good
that is.
shiner eventually. That's what Salvador
You ever had a
Perez-
black eye?
Have I had a black eye? I don't know if I have. The only thing I've had way back when I had like a blood vessel pop in my eye, and they that turns everything like really red, obviously, and everything. I don't know if I've had a black eye.
I've had black eyes a couple times.
You get punched?
It's been a
Or what
long
happened?
time. Well, I didn't get a black eye. The guy punched me in the lip that time. I just got punched on the street. He punched me in the mouth. I have been punched in the eye. I got siblings and stuff, but most of the stuff we got black eye was like sports, just like you didn't see a ball coming or whatever, just normal, regular stuff. My daughter once, when she was probably 2.5, she was doing swim lessons, and she slipped on the pool deck, and her forehead smacked on the concrete, and it made a sound that made me wish for death. And she hit her head so hard, she had 2 black eyes.
Dang.
Yeah, Yeah.
You can hear the sound almost,
course,
can't you?
of course.
Even though I didn't even technically describe it, it's just the sound. Yeah,
Cringeworthy.
It hurt. It was
Drew, you ever have you ever had a black eye there?
I don't think I've ever had a black eye. If anything, it was similar to Cody. A ground ball came up and popped up and smacked me in the face, something like that.
So hopefully everything's fine with Salvi. We'll check in with Vern. But let's keep talking some Royals baseball here because I mentioned Patrick Mahomes when we going into break that it's normal for Patrick Mahomes to be listed as a favorite for an award or a top 2 odds to win an MVP. But for the first time in his career, Bobby Witt Jr. is the favorite right now at FanDuel to be the MVP in the American League. We know he finished runner-up this past year, and I would say 9 out of 10 years, Bobby Witt Jr. would have won it last year. But Aaron Judge had that special of a season as well, and you were going up against New York and everything that went into that debate that we all had in August and September. This year, he's the favorite slightly above Aaron Judge. If Bobby Witt Jr. were to have the exact same statistical season,
MVP.
He's going to win it this year, and he would probably win it. If he did that same thing for 5 straight years, he'd probably win it 3-4 times out of that 5-year run.
Yeah, most likely. I would think that but it's also like, can he repeat it? Because he's the favorite because they think it's most likely he repeats it than Aaron Judge does. And when it comes to massive home run seasons, that's usually true. Even in that bandbox that is New York Yankees team. Do not let the people on the East Coast pull up whatever nonsense stat they have that claims that there are stats that try to claim that Kauffman is a more hitter-friendly park than New York Yankees Stadium, which is nuts. But when it comes to those huge home run numbers, Gold, those are usually hard to replicate. You don't normally, like Salvador Perez had 48 home runs next year. That very rarely equates to, I'll hit 48 home runs the following year. So Aaron Judge had 58 home runs last year, as we all know. The year before that, he had 37. The year before that, he had 62. The year before that, he had 39. And then he was hurt some of those other times. So the numbers
So you're
were a little
saying
bit
he's
lower.
only hitting in the 30s this year?
Yeah, I mean, mate, I guess let's take the under,
Yeah.
Let's place a bet on the under for Aaron Judge's numbers to come down. But I overall just think it is harder for him to replicate his numbers than Bobby's because Bobby's are balanced. He hit for average. He got on base. He got RBIs. He got stolen bases. All those things are still going to be relative. He's still going to be a Gold Glove shortstop. It makes sense to me. It's just as long as you think there's absolutely no drop-off in his game, I think he's better protected in the lineup. There's a reason to think that some of Bobby's counting numbers should go up with India in front of him instead of how many different people did they try to lead off last year?
Yeah, I mean, probably 3-4 different guys.
They ran
least,
through a few. I mean, they tried some options, as you recall. The only thing it did do is put him at leadoff.
Aaron Judge, by the way, over under 47.5 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr. over under home runs is set at 30.5 for this upcoming season.
Hit 32 last year. I mean, kind of want to take Judge's under.
It's only
Is that wrong?
It's minus 105.
He's only hit in his 9-year career. He's gone over that 3 times, and he's gone under it 6.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool to see Bobby Witt Jr. already the favorite heading in. Like the uphill climb that he had to do just to get in the conversation nationally and the narratives. The team had to have a bounce back season. They did. This year, they're going into the year with an expectation to compete and win the AL Central. And now everybody nationally, and this includes the people that vote on it, Bobby Witt Jr. is easily a household name. He's viewed as a top 5, top 3 player in all of baseball now. These are things that I don't think universally outside of Kansas City people were saying. Now they are. He had his moment at the home run derby. Even if he came up just short, it would have been an epic. It was an epic moment anyway, but still that close to it. All of that contributes to these awards are not just statistical awards, they're narrative awards when you're talking about humans voting on them. And so Bobby Witt Jr. will have
he's already in the narrative.
More on his side narrative-wise than he did last year. This time last year, I think
was he had in the year 10-1, 15-1.
Yeah, I think he had the 6th or 7th best odds maybe to win MVP. This year, he's plus 270 in the AL to do it. Aaron Judge is 3-1. Gunnar Henderson, remember that whole debate all year last year? Gunnar Henderson's 8.5 to 1 out in Baltimore. And then you got guys that we've heard of before, been around the league a little bit. Corey Seager's 10-1. Vladdy Jr. is 14-1. He's a popular pick this year because he's in a contract year, and maybe he just has a massive season. Then Yordan Alvarez, Mike Trout's 18-1 still, even though he can't stay healthy. And then you go back and you can keep going on and on and on. Vinnie Pasquantino, 120-1, by the way.
Tempting. He was going to be a 100 RBI guy last year. Problem was, he'd have to surpass Bobby Witt Jr. on his own team.
Vinnie would have to hit 60 home runs, guys. He told us.
How many did he say? Did he say
65? I thought
65. That's what he said. Honestly, if I am to believe, actually, but he also said that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be the MVP at the same time.
Yeah.
So if I'm to believe him, it can't be both.
By the way, if he hits 65 and then Bobby wins MVP, if Vinny hits 65 and Bobby wins MVP, the Royals are winning 98 games, maybe 100 games if that happens.
Yeah. I don't think Vinny's winning it. I got to say.
All of those things sound great, by the way.
We love our guy, Vinny. I don't advise you to make a bet at 120-1 for Vinny to win MVP. I don't think that's a smart bet. Sorry.
What else can I... But I want to bet on Vinny. Do I just have to do it in an individual game for him to hit a homer?
There'll be some more as we get closer to the start of the season. Yeah, I mean, there's some home run numbers that'll be out there more for more players. Right now, they don't have, I don't think, a prop for Vinny to over-under home runs.
Just make every bet you do with Vern this year, Cody, a Vinny home run bet.
I will say the one thing about... You had mentioned Bobby in the home run total. I don't have the list pulled up in front of me, but how often is it that an MVP winner is only like a 30 home run guy in the American League?
That might have been part of the problem last year too, right?
I'm just being totally honest. It feels like more often than not, when that award is won, it is won by some guy hitting 40 plus home runs. So the American League award winner by year, Aaron Judge, we know he hit a bunch. Shohei Ohtani was pitching too, but he also probably hit 40 plus homers. The year Aaron Judge hit 62, the year Shohei Ohtani hit 40. Like Jose Abreu in 2020, maybe he didn't hit. Maybe he was a 30 home run guy. I don't honestly remember. But or Jose Altuve, maybe the year those guys won it. But it can't be all that often that you're just like a 30 home run guy and win the MVP. In Bobby's case, he's lucky because he's got so many other counting stats that really go in his favor. So it's not just that. In the year Jose Abreu won the MVP, he hit 33 homers. So maybe a down year. God, Bobby Witt Jr.'s year is so much better than that year Jose Abreu won the MVP. How bad was that year?
So I'm saying that Bobby could have the exact same statistical season, and he would win it 4 out of the next 5 years, 3 out of the next 5 years. He ran into another player in Aaron Judge last year that was having an absurd historical season as well. And we
think 90% of the time he's an MVP in a league that Shohei Ohtani doesn't exist.
That's right. Well, yeah,
I think that's important to know because Shohei Ohtani, then that numbers don't always get it.
And Shohei, the rest of his career is going to be in the NL. Okay, he's with the Dodgers, so you're not going to have to really worry about that. Shohei is the favorite on the National League side, no surprise.
Oh, weird. Is he minus money?
No, but he's a much heavier favorite than. So Bobby's plus 270 on the AL side. Judge is 3-1, so pretty close. They're almost neck and neck.
This year too.
Shohei's plus 145 to win MVP. Juan Soto's 5.5 to 1. That's the gap.
Am I a little crazy for thinking? Why wouldn't you bet something at plus 170 that feels like a sure thing? Now, it isn't because of injury. Something we just don't know.
Sorry.
Shohei. He's going to be the MVP, right? If he pitches and hits, how does he not win the MVP?
Yeah, look, the goal is to win your bet, right? But I think a lot of people for season-long bets
don't like placing 170
value. Yeah, you're like, hey, I'm going to wait I'm going to have to wait 6 months.
For a plus 170?
That's why
I'll just bet on the Pistons to win tonight on the money line.
Someone would say, I think the thought is, hey, Shohei, if he progresses, eventually the number could get a month or two in the season. Maybe he's minus 200. Juan Soto, you get him at 5.5 right now. You have more wiggle room, right? In terms of value and how that can play out. Mookie Betts is 12 to 1. You may not get a better number than that the entire year. how much better is Shohei's number getting a month from now? You know what I mean? I think that's part of the thought too.
Yeah.
Get
I'm not
some
saying
of the
you have
guys
to
further
bet
down the
today.
road.
It's probably, but yeah, I'm just saying.
Like if I were doing
if you
long
think
shots,
they're winning, why wouldn't you just do it?
If I were doing a bet other than Bobby Witt on the AL side to win MVP, I would bet on someone like Julio Rodriguez at 20-1 because I know what he was a couple years ago. I also have bought into the hype around Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in a contract year at 14-1. Those would be two that I'd be interested in. I don't trust Yordan Alvarez to stay healthy at 15-1, so that's my problem with him.
I'm old enough to remember when people were like, we'll never have a player like Julio Rodriguez. This is nonsense. Look how much better he is than Bobby. Their rookie years, that was real.
It was happening then.
Real conversation.
Well, he was better his rookie year.
I know, but it was saying like Bobby was already.
Yeah.
They were writing those off as if Bobby didn't have that upper level potential.
Julio had he was rookie of the year. And he was on a team, most importantly, right? And how this conversation
won like 100 games.
That's the narrative part, right? Like he was on a team that was in the postseason, and the Royals were awful that season.
I mean, I don't
flip it around.
It's hard to bet it because he's the favorite, and you're only getting 2.5 to 1, as you mentioned. But I mean, yeah, I think Bobby Witt Jr. I think he should be the favorite. I'm not just saying that because they're in Kansas City. If you look at the odds and the people who are missing from the Yankees lineup and the typical drop off that happens, and a point that Cody Deckard made, which is why for the first 2 months of the season would you ever pitch to Aaron Judge? Feels like Bobby could get a head start on that thing. That's all.
We'll ask Vern about that MVP market coming up in 30 minutes or so when he joins us from Surprise, Arizona. So we had Ross Tucker on the show throughout the NFL season. You guys know, former NFL offensive lineman. He hosts the Ross Tucker podcast, and he has different guests on his show like anybody would. He had someone named Steve Fezzik who does a lot of analyzing, looking at metrics, does some betting stuff as well in the NFL. And I'm going to play you a bit of audio from Ross Tucker's podcast. This piece of audio, this logic is why there's a lot of people that don't ever want to hear about numbers and analytics, right? This is why a balance is needed, and it can't just be all about your numbers, because even when the numbers and what we all saw happen don't match, you have someone that still is already telling us he's not going to pay attention to what his eyes are showing him and what the actual results are, and he's only going to lean on his numbers. You've got to do both. This will make more sense when I play you this bit of audio. This is Steve Fezzik talking about the Ravens versus the Chiefs.
Yeah, so looking at the standings from the year before makes sense, but looking at the point differential makes more sense because the bottom line, you get a whole bunch of close games. I get it. Mahomes is God, and he manages to will his team to victory. But the bottom line, just in terms of power rating-wise, how good a team is, I want to look at point differential. So I look at Kansas City, plus 59. Baltimore, plus 157, Ross. Baltimore was a much better team than Kansas City last year during the regular season. It doesn't carry over necessarily to the playoffs, but going forward, very likely I'll have Baltimore power rated above Kansas City again, just like I did last year.
He's already.
Oh my God. And I like numbers, dude.
He's already saying that despite what we've all witnessed and stuff, even after this year, he's already saying like, yeah, like no matter what, I'm gonna have them ahead of them just because my point differential numbers don't lie. Well, they did lie to you. Like, well, the regular season is different than the playoffs. Yes,
but also there's only so many common opponents. There's just so many factors that go into point differential besides just like
it's just funny
play
to
the
hear,
same schedule.
It's funny to hear someone flat out admit though, like that. No matter what I've seen, like I don't care. I'm doubling down on being wrong about a football
that didn't even
team.
make the Final Four.
It's really interesting hearing the power rating. So, because I think there's crossover into college football and the way the analytics come out with things. Because in the NFL we don't have rankings, we just have standings, and it's as
you
is.
You are.
Yeah, you are what you are. Where in college, the rules can be bent a little bit. Where people like Phil Steele, for example, comes out with the college football magazine and everything. He has rankings that he thinks this is how I think they are right now. But then he does what Fezzik is talking about, and he has a power rating. That's what Fezzik mentioned, a power rating.
Bettors use power ratings.
I'm going to look at toughest schedule. I'm going to look at these things. I'm going to look at returning production. I'm going to take all these extra factors in from last year, from the offseason, everything, to come up with a power rating that is different than what I think this team is. And a lot of people, I think, look at a power rating as, I think if I were to pick a team this year to win this, I'm going to say this is where I think they'll end up. So basically, Fezzik's saying he thinks the Ravens are going to be better than the Chiefs this upcoming season, which is, it's an interesting approach to look at it because, but the NFL is different. It's not college, right? In college, it works more.
It's fine. Nobody's saying like you have to pick the Chiefs to be better than somebody. It's just that he's admitting in the same audio, like I did that last year, and I thought, and it was wrong. But I'm going to do it again, damn it, because you know what I mean. Like that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
especially in a league where the results matter more than anything else.
Look, and it's
than
like
opinions.
you got years and years and years worth of results. Like if at the beginning of the year you just want to say blank slate, I don't care what anybody finished at the end of the year. That is not important. What is important is the players who are on the roster, and I'm making my determinations and my power rankings based on that. I'll at least hear you out. And you're like, I like the Ravens roster better. You better be factoring in the things you said about Mahomes in this circumstance, because you know that to be an objective truth when you make these decisions about teams, that he will rip your heart out, that this team will win more games, and that every year they will end up in the AFC title game or in the Super Bowl, and that is a factor in when you're determined. Because if you're just going off of point differential and point differential alone, prepare to be disappointed, because that ain't how it works. This is not European soccer. It is not goal differential, including with standings. What'd you say?
To use point differential as your reasoning behind it is very weird, because
it's so subjective.
Yeah, because and even
it's not subjective. It's just like it varies.
And even if you had the Ravens defense from 2000 and you had the offense of, I don't know, you could throw out whoever mediocre team, the Jaguars team that beat the Chargers. That team's going to win 13 games because the defense is so damn good. It doesn't matter what point differential is. If you're winning the games in the NFL, that's just what matters the most, it seems like. When people, it sounds like a lot of what the Chargers people are trying to say, well, eventually I'm going to be right about this, and the Chargers are going to win. I think that's what this came across as. Well, the Ravens are going to be better because eventually they're actually going to be better than the Chiefs. It's just going to happen at some point, and then I'll be right.
Yeah, a lot of people, also EPA, expected points added or whatever, like that was another thing that the Ravens looked so much better in that category. But there's always outliers. But also, if the same thing happens next year, where the Ravens in these other categories are better, but they still fail you and make you look like an idiot in the playoffs, are you just going to keep going back to it? Like, well, yeah, you should just got to keep the same process because eventually it'll work out. Like, okay, all right, whatever works.
Anybody do the math and just find out like how often the team that was the top point differential team every year won? Like won the Super Bowl.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Lions did not win.
I'm sure somebody's figured it out. But yeah, the last year, the two teams that didn't even make it to the
didn't even make it to the conference
NFC title game or AFC title game. Yeah.
Like and again, the Lions, I think theirs could probably be more easily explained by they got unlucky because of the injury related part of it. But it's just like, I mean, like point differential. That's the only thing you're gonna lock into. You're right. This does give. See, this is the problem though. Is that like, as a person who enjoys numbers and likes using them to make a point on the air, this guy makes me look like an idiot. This guy's out here making people who like any kind of statistical measure, like, and we can all hate different statistics. Like, I don't think point differentials.
I think you got to have a balance. You got to have a balance.
I don't think looking at point differential is a bad measure of team quality. I've told you, run differential is huge in baseball and very telling for how good of a team you are. But it's not the only thing. They're like real life things. I also have eyes, and my eyes have watched the Ravens lose consistently in the playoffs to the Chiefs all the time. And so, like, unless it's going to be different than that, it's like,
if we're basing things off a point differential too, by the way, then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have been the 3 seed in the AFC because they had a better point differential than the Chargers, than the Broncos, and the Steelers. You know, if we're basing it off of that,
I'm looking at the all-time point differential teams, and some of those teams didn't even win the Super Bowl. The highest ever is the Patriots when they lost, when they were undefeated.
Makes sense. Yeah,
they were the best team. Not even going to hear to argue it. They lost the Super Bowl, but they were the best team. The Rams in 1999 when they lost to the Patriots with the top point the third highest point differential.
The Lions didn't even make the conference title game. They were plus 222. They killed everybody else in point differential. They didn't even make it to the NFC title game.
The reason why I wanted to play that audio is because in the same 43-second clip, he was mentioning stuff from last year, and I'm like, well, I'm going back to it. I'm going right back to it heading into this season because of how good they were a year ago in this one particular category. I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. That's all.
It's not even something that he created. Like, if he created a metric system that he uses because he likes it and it works, fine. But he's using point differential, which you or I, or Cody could make a prediction next year and say, you know what, the point differential is going to be the reason this happens. We all can use it. It's not anything that's foreign to us.
Yeah, it does tell you at least you're not a bad team if you're the top point differential team in the AFC. You're a very good team. You're one of the best teams in the league. But because point differential doesn't factor in things like who you played, when, and did it lead to it. So like when you beat a team 50-6, let's say you play 3 games in a row and you beat 2 teams 50-6, and the third game you lost 14-13, but then the Chiefs won all three of their games 27-24. I don't care. Like, the point differential, they're like equal in my opinion. We both are equally good teams. You can't put it together 3 games in a row. I can. You can light it up when you're on. We can't. Like, they're different things. They're different quality differences, but they're not like the team with the better point differential isn't instantly better just because they outscored their opponent more. It just means they're better at doing blowouts. You and I have talked about this a million times with the Chiefs in particular. The Chiefs are not good at blowouts. They are amazing at winning.
And a lot of this
They are
goes
so
back
good
to
at
and Steve Fezzik, the audio we played from Ross Tucker's show, he's a big sports handicapper. A lot of the conversation in recent years around how teams look has been tied into basically, do they cover the spread or do they not cover the spread? And the Chiefs have not been a good team in that category, but they have been able to obviously win rings. And so it's a reminder of, like, that doesn't tell the entire story. Some teams blow out opponents and cover all the time. Other teams, they just find ways to win close. It was the whole thing we just went through this past year with the Chiefs. Yes, they ultimately got blown out in the Super Bowl, but throughout the year, everybody was discounting them. Well, they just can't keep winning this close. What was it, 17 straight one-score games? They can't keep doing this. Yeah. And yeah, it got them in the Super Bowl, not because they were winning close games. What got them in the Super Bowl is their offensive line had no answer, and then players didn't perform, coaches made mistakes. We all know the story. We don't have to revisit it. But so I think a lot of that has been building for a while. Like the betting markets, a lot of the analytical people, the Chiefs don't stand out on paper the way some of these other teams that have nothing to show for it do. Baltimore, and maybe even Buffalo to a certain extent. But it's interesting. We'll see. I'm not even saying that Baltimore shouldn't be ranked higher than the Chiefs going into next season. Just the logic that this individual was using doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's all.
No, it feels like it. I don't know. And it's so funny to, like, why would you die on that hill now? You watch them lose in the divisional round. You watch the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl. Why would you die on that hill now? Just out of curiosity, did the Ravens have a better point differential than the Eagles? And are you willing to? Are the Eagles the better team?
It was like the exact same. It was 157, I think, for the Ravens and 160 for the Eagles.
Are the Lions better than all those teams?
The Lions were plus 222. The Lions were way better than anybody else. That was the thing, because they were blowing teams out during the season. They blew the bad teams out. But then I think Gold, you mentioned, that was always the question: is when they play good competition, are they going to be able to hang with Philly, or in this case that they played Washington?
I like that somebody just said the Ravens would always lose to the Chiefs. Sometimes they'd lose to the Chiefs before they get to the Chiefs in the postseason.
Fair enough. All right, up next, we'll get to a text I got from our friends up in Buffalo, actually, that was interesting around their offseason plan and how people in Kansas City would feel. Plus, we're going to go out to Arizona and check in with Josh Vernier, get the latest on Salvador Perez's injury, and talk about MJ Melendez's success here recently at the plate.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And though I generally talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues, today I want to talk about love. Because love is the best reason to get treated for your ED. You see, ED can cause major relationship issues. In fact, men often push their partners away when ED becomes a problem. The condition can cause depression, arguments, breakups, and even contribute to divorce. But the good news is that if you're like most men suffering with ED, you can be successfully treated at Heartland Men's Health and put a stop to the relationship stresses that ED can cause. I say this with all confidence because we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases. Surely, it's likely you'll find you're performing like you haven't in years. So make an appointment and get the love back in your life. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices: Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
College basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets and even who's cutting down the nets. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app's easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/Alex and get on the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
At Shane Company, we know getting engaged is a big decision. But once you know, you know. That's the way our customers feel when they choose a Shane Company engagement ring. They walk into a warm welcome and walk out with their dream ring, knowing they got it right. For almost 100 years, we've been offering personalized shopping experiences. And we're in it way past the honeymoon, with a free lifetime warranty that includes the center stone, cleanings, repairs, and resizing for life. Shop with us at shaneco.com or at your neighborhood store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof, while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This report is brought to you by CareNow Urgent Care. Find one near you at carenow.com.
CareNow Urgent Care has 15 Kansas City area locations open 7 days a week. From injuries and illnesses to school and sports physicals, CareNow Urgent Care is here to help you feel better fast. Find a location near you at carenow.com and use our convenient web check-in today.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, Josh Vernier, our Royals insider out in Surprise, Arizona, going to join us. We'll talk to him about another night game tonight in Arizona, also what Alec Marsh looked like, plus if there is any updates on Salvador Perez and the eye injury, or a little below the eye injury, I should say, that he suffered yesterday in a spring training game. Of course, he still finished the inning, and Salvador Perez would not let him take him out in the middle of the inning.
That sounds like Salvador Perez.
Definitely sounds like Salvador Perez as well. So Vern's going to join us in a bit. Don't forget, Basketball Madness is coming to KC for the NAIA Men's College Basketball Championship, March 20th through the 25th at Municipal Auditorium. 16 teams, 15 games, 1 national champion. Bring the family for nonstop action and affordable tickets. Get yours today at NAIAHoops.com. So I got a text yesterday from our good friend up in Buffalo, Mike Shope. We've had him on the show for numerous years during these playoff runs, and in the past with the Buffalo Bills. We've got on his shows as well. And he wanted our perspective, just like from the Bills' offseason plans, what would make us, if at all, like say, wow, okay, that could be a problem in the future. And he was asking between DK Metcalf getting traded there, and that's a report that could happen with anybody, or trading for Myles Garrett. And I was like, and their thought was they think their offense overachieved a year ago, and so they need to add more weapons. Remember, Josh Allen won MVP. I said, from a Kansas City perspective, I would consider you guys going out and trading for Myles Garrett potentially way more problematic, even though the Chiefs have beat them 4 straight times. But that Myles Garrett against the Chiefs' offensive line, that could be a problem. The way I view the Bills' offense, look, Josh Allen's great. He's going to be Josh Allen, whether he has DK Metcalf or what he just had this year with Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir. Like that's their offense can get better, but like I'm not worried if Josh Allen's going to do his thing. All of a sudden, your defensive line can get to me with ease with Myles Garrett. Way scarier. So that was my answer kind of on behalf of like Chiefs Kingdom. Do you guys agree with that?
So it's funny that he would ask because they're in Buffalo. And so they're curious which way. This isn't close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know we try to avoid saying that sometimes in the show. Like, and it's not even close. It's not close. I am much more fearful of what they look like with a legitimate pass rush again. The scariest version of the Buffalo Bills, as in the most competent version, the one that threatened the Chiefs the most, was the one in which they possessed a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. They, last year, were not the same defensively. And when they made that Von Miller deal, I think that this is what they would be hoping for and would almost absolutely be getting out of Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett still has 2 years left on a deal. You could technically trade for him and not pay him more money and just take a $20 million cap hit this year and a now I think he wants a raise, and a $19 million cap hit next year, and it's not even that bad. I'd be all over Myles Garrett if I were Buffalo. I would kind of hate if he ended up there. DK, because you're going to have to give DK Metcalf. The reports are they want a first and a third, and he wants $30 million a year. Okay, so let's just, we know that works. Let's go ahead and take the haircut of what the realistic numbers is for both of those now, which is a 3rd-round pick, maybe a 2nd, but let's call it a 3rd-round pick and $26 million a year. I think that could handicap the Bills in a really bad way. They should not be in the market of trading for 29-year-old, somewhat limited wide receivers in the sense that I've told you, I think he relies on his speed and his athleticism more than just he's a pure route runner, gonna do it right all the time guy. I think there's a bigger risk of that falling flat on its face than Myles Garrett. There's a better chance of bust than that. And you're going to have to pay him $26, $27 million a year and give up draft assets.
I mean, Myles Garrett,
I kind of hope they trade for DK Metcalf. That sounds sick, but like, I wouldn't even care if the Bills did. I'd be kind of happy.
Yeah, Myles Garrett's trending towards a Hall of Fame career. I mean, and you have a chance to trade for that guy before he's 32 years old, whatever. What is Myles Garrett's exact age right now? Is he 30?
Yeah, he's 20. No, he'll be 30. Yeah, this year.
Okay, so
he's 30 now, I think.
Okay, so you still got some good years there, in my opinion, for Myles Garrett,
for a player of his caliber,
and a very motivated player if you trade for him because he wants to play for a winner. He gave 8 years to Cleveland. Said I tried to make it work here and get to the postseason, which he did once, I think, twice maybe. He obviously played Kansas City in that one with Baker Mayfield when they came to town and lost. The Myles Garrett edition, it's why the Eagles are interested, the Chargers, the Commanders, the Bills. He's a game changer. DK Metcalf, I don't think he's a great receiver, not a game changer, though. The way Myles Garrett can change an entire game, take over. I don't think DK Metcalf is doing that as good as he has been at times in his career. So, yeah, I think if you're Buffalo and you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you can find some other wide receiver options from a Kansas City perspective that they asked us for. Myles Garrett would be far more concerning.
I guess where are they at cap space wise? Because, like, I understand in Buffalo, they're saying it was we all thought they would be worse offensively than they were. They were actually way better than I thought that they would do. But that's also what like rising tides kind of thing. And I think in Buffalo, they're worried it's a mirage. And what's really going to happen is they're going to come back to earth and they're not going to be the level of offense. They are currently, and they've got till Tuesday to fix this, they're going to take on a $30 million wide receiver and trade a pick. And they're currently negative in cap space. They're negative $14.7 million. The Chiefs are only $405,000 in the black. So I'm not going to say
they can make room for him. If
everyone can make room. It's not but it should you, right? Because I think sometimes before you make one of these moves, you like trade. I actually don't think they should do either. Before you make these moves where you trade and then you give more money to Myles Garrett or DK Metcalf, I actually think it's wise to get out of your last bad financial decision before you do that, right? And the Von Miller deal it's blown up in your face. It's been very, very, very bad, and it has not worked out in any conceivable way. You didn't get a title. It worked in one regular season game against Kansas City, and outside of that, it has not been worth the cash. They could cut Von Miller and save $8 million this year. They owe him $23 if he plays. $15 million in dead cap hit, $23 million. Next year, they can cut him, and they probably will if they don't cut him this year. And they'll save $15 million, $26 million. But, like, they're not even out of that bad financial decision, right? So until you get out of that one, should you be trading for 29-year-old wide receivers or 30-year-old defensive ends? I just wouldn't do either. And I think both are great players. I just think you got to be – I think that those are the kind of moves you make when you're still in the – like when you're the Patriots or you're the Bengals. Not the Bengals. The
Commanders.
The Commanders. Some of these teams that are near contention – and still got money.
Yeah, someone said on the text line, 913-586-7965, we already have had close games with their defenses they've had. Throwing DK, it's a game changer. Allen is far better. I guess I view it on the opposite end. Josh Allen's going to Josh Allen. He's going to have big games. Mm-hmm. He's going to elevate everybody around him.
But Mahomes will score on him if they don't have an elite.
Adding Myles Garrett to Buffalo would maybe give them a chance to finally end the 0-4 stretch. Like DK Metcalf, like the Chiefs have faced Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase has had them a couple of times. Hasn't always equated to wins though because their defense stuck and made mistakes. Like,
but a couple times I've watched them get their ass kicked in the Super Bowl is because a defensive player completely ruined the game.
Yeah. So, and obviously this fresh in our minds what the Eagles' defensive line did. So, absolutely, Myles Garrett would be the move if I were Buffalo.
That might be affecting our bias, admittedly.
For sure. Well,
I just like anytime the Chiefs really get their ass kicked, it is like even like
their offensive line failing. Those are the only times, man.
Even the game that they almost lost to the Broncos when they were playing and it mattered. Nick Bonito ruined that game. And like the times I watched the Chiefs where I'm like, you either should have lost or you definitely lost or you straight got your ass kicked. It was one defensive player completely ruining, or multiple defensive players, but usually one, completely ruining everything you're doing. Well, I don't think DK Metcalf can do that unless he's switching to corner. So, like, Myles Garrett becomes kind of the obvious choice.
I think it's interesting because I think it's a good question. It provides...
Yeah, I like it.
It provides different outlooks because if you're the Chiefs, I think it's absolutely Myles Garrett. If you're other teams, though, and you think, okay, being able to limit what the Bills do, if they were to get DK Metcalf, I think it opens up the offense even more where they need a wide receiver anyways. They get a wide receiver who's obviously very talented, freakishly athletic, bigger bodied, A.J. Brown style wide receiver with Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, of course. It completes the offense in a way that while they're already good, it could take them to another tier of not necessarily unstoppable, but it makes them very difficult to stop. I don't know if that would be other teams' perspective for the Bills compared to the Chiefs in terms of Myles Garrett, because I think, like you guys said, the way that the Super Bowl went, it's always the offensive line having a problem. So obviously Myles Garrett is the easy answer for Chiefs fans. I wonder if it'd be different for just the rest of the league or anybody else.
He said even in Buffalo, like their thought is a lot of people there are worried that their offense overachieved. That they did a lot with little, and that they still need to go. They still need to go. Yeah, I mean, you can go get Hollywood Brown in Buffalo. I want him back in Kansas City, but he'd be a great fit there in Buffalo. So we'll see. But yeah, it was an interesting text we got from our friend Mike Shope up in Buffalo. Here in just a second, we're going to have Josh Vernier, our Royals insider, join us. We'll talk some baseball with him.
But as a reminder, tomorrow we'll be at Kelly's at 6:30. We had told you had a chance to get a little financial compensation as a chance because you guys made us the #1 rated show. Wanted to have a chance to pay that back, so got a tab. Kelly's worth $1,000. We'll be out there at 6:30 tomorrow. I mean, I'll be there later than this, but, when the tab's gone, you got to pay for your own drinks. You know this works. Bring some money to tip. That's all we ask. Outside of that, I got a G for you, and we'll have a little bit of fun tomorrow. The people from Sazerac chipping in 250, which really helps, and we'll make sure we get to you tomorrow. Looking to interact with as many people as we can. Plus, you get a chance to interact with other people who like the show, and we just know that if you guys didn't listen to the show, we wouldn't be number one.
Our spring training coverage here on Cody and Gold in 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by Park and Go, KC's premier airport parking destination. We go out to Arizona, welcome in our Royals insider, Josh Vernier. He's got his hot stove show tonight, 6 o'clock here on the station. I know last week you had a couple of really good guests. What do you got planned tonight, Vern?
Had a chance to talk with future Royals Hall of Famer Greg Holland, hoping to air that. Also, was going to hopefully run down Michael Lorenzen after a start last night, have him take us not only on the mound, but also, as you remember, in the batter's box, one of the rare two-way players in the game, hopefully scheduled to stop by tonight beginning at 6.
What about Salvador Perez? Do we have any news? I know Royals fans are wondering about this eye injury from yesterday or below the eye.
Clubhouse is going to open up in about an hour from now. A night game coming up tonight out in Mesa against Justin Steele and the Cubs. So we'll get a look at Salvi coming up here in a moment. I'll be interested to see how many eyes he can look at us through, knowing that he took that follow through off of the high cheekbone, orbital bone. I'm barely a radio guy. I'm certainly not a doctor, but a laceration under his left eye, bleeding in the bottom of the second inning. He goes to all fours. Obviously he's in a lot of pain, but it's Salvi, so rub some dirt in it. I know you're going to be all right, man. I've seen you explode your hip. I've seen you with COVID. I've seen you only able to catch a baseball with one eye and still dominate out on the diamond. So I would expect it to the reason why he was pulled from the game last night wasn't necessarily the cut or the bleeding. It was just it started swelling, and putting that catcher's mitt over a swollen eye is anything but ideal. So I would imagine it's still swollen. He wasn't scheduled to be in the lineup today anyway. I'll be surprised if he's in the lineup tomorrow, but it's Salvi, man. I'm always bracing for bad news, and I'm always shocked at how fine he is. Let's hope that today isn't the anomaly.
In a weird way, Vern, this is what backs up our whole conversation about how long he's going to play. He finished the inning, cut his eye.
Right.
He's like, nah, I'm not leaving. That's how I feel like he's going to leave the baseball diamond when his career's over. I'm not leaving until you tell me I'm not allowed here anymore.
Yeah, it's very, catchers are just built different. You think of his former coach and Mike Matheny, right? The guy just spits a tooth out and then gets back in the crouch ready for the next pitch. The guys are nuts, man.
When you look at what the rest of it, we haven't asked you about a guy yet, so I wanted to, as we kind of go through the roster and figure out how they're doing. I know MJ is off to a decent start in spring. How about Vinnie Pasquantino? Yeah. I think there's more attention on him this spring because Jack Caglione is going to stay at first base until if he goes to the outfield, we can probably just start assuming they're getting him ready for the bigs. But for now, he'll continue to be at first base. How's Vinny looked?
Oh, solid at first. The guy works as hard as anyone on his defense, and that's continued out here in Arizona. But he is just throwing absolute bullets all over the diamond. Last night, 111 miles per hour to left center. He rips 108 to right. And listen, I understand that Royals fans appreciate Vinny. I think they respect what he's done, but I don't know if they talk about Vinny in the right tone. No, he's not Bobby. He's not a perennial MVP. And no, he's not Salvi, a future Hall of Famer. But, if this was 2015, he's the best hitter on the team. If it's 2013, he's one of the guys that is front page of every leaflet that's trying to promote Royals baseball. Just look around the American League Central. He's the best first baseman in the division. And if we say Jose Ramirez is a switch hitter, which he is, well, Vinny's the best pure left-handed hitter in the American League Central, with all due respect to Riley Green up in Detroit. I just hear when the name Vinnie Pasquantino comes out of the mouths of Royals fans, it's often followed by his injury history. And Well, yeah, I understand the thumb last year and the shoulder the year before. Well, the shoulder's been addressed and it hasn't flared up again, and the thumb injury was a fluke. So the rush that some have to label him injury prone to me is a misnomer. Vinnie Pasquantino's one of the finest first basemen in all of Major League Baseball, and certainly wouldn't shock me to find him in the All-Star game. Now, look, he needs to be that player for this team. We all know the question marks in this offense, but the gap between Bobby, Salvi, and Vinny, the gap between Bobby and Salvi to me is the same difference as the one between Salvi and Vinny. I think they're a lot closer in ability, especially offensively, than some want to give him credit for.
I give Vinny a lot of weird credit for. Does he practice it? Can you ask him next time you see him? Does he want to be the king of sack flies?
Yeah, no, he's going for the all-time record. He knows exactly how many he needs to set the Major League Baseball record for sacrifice flies. He's dialed into everything.
We're talking to our Royals insider, Josh Vernier. He's got his Hot Stove Show tonight at 6 o'clock here on 96.5 The Fan. What about Alec Marsh? We know when spring training began, they said, hey, we're going to kind of take this thing slow. I believe he had some was it shoulder tightness, Vern? Where are things at now with him?
Yeah, for a guy that showed up to camp with shoulder soreness, as you pointed out, he has made great strides. Talking with him yesterday, he's maybe 2 weeks behind where he wanted to be at this point. So a quick stint on the 10-day, 15-day IL to start off this season, and Alec Marsh should be able to help this team. I watched his bullpen twice in the past week. Yesterday, I mean, wherever that catcher was throwing the glove, he was popping that mid. Alec Marsh, not only has he looked good, I've always been a fan of his mentality. But again, this is a guy that gave this team 25 starts, and like I mentioned yesterday, for the most part, in about 70-80% of his outings, he gave the team a chance to win. Marsh, like a lot of guys on this team, checked the box last year to where they now know they belong. They now know they can help a team win, a good team win. But there's also an ease about Alec Marsh to where it feels as if he knows, that the coaching staff knows, that he can hold the fort down. And while he started off strong last year, he admitted that he started to get a little bit too far ahead of himself, right? In the month of April, I was making a case. We were talking on this show about, man, Alec Marsh might be the third best arm on this team. And he took that red hot start into May, and he said that he's starting to look ahead to June. He's thinking, man, if I keep this up, I could find myself in the All-Star game rather than staying locked in pitch to pitch, not trying to make the All-Star team, not trying to win 20 games in May. The maturation of Alec Marsh, I think, has helped him through this early season setback. I think it'll help him if he's not there on opening day. I think it'll also allow him to properly bide his time in the bullpen until that spot in the rotation opens up, whether that's because of injury or innings with Chris Bubich or performance from Michael Lorenzen. Look, you can never have enough pitching, and if Alec Marsh is battling Daniel Lynch for that first one to get the call, I think Alec Marsh wins that race. Lynch finds himself in the bullpen. But listen, you guys know as well as anybody, you can never have enough starting pitching. So to go into the season feeling confident at least about your top six, and depending on how you feel about Daniel Lynch, your top seven, it's a great place to be when you already feel as if you have the best rotation in the division.
Vern, does night baseball make it feel slightly more real, like you're closer to the real thing versus just like middle of the day in Arizona?
No, not really. Just because another day game is coming and opening day is still 2 weeks away, it's all rather goofy. Although tonight will be nice. That's always 10,000 plus out at Sloan Park, home of the Cubs. So it'll be loud, it'll be energetic. But when you're walking around in the clubhouse in the fourth inning, that's the reminder that no, this doesn't count.
We were talking earlier in the hour, Vern, at least on one sports book, FanDuel, Bobby Witt Jr. is the actual MVP favorite. Now, other books you can find some better odds and everything, but It makes sense, right? I mean, he was the runner-up a year ago, and those numbers, if he does that this year, he's winning it.
And I don't see a reason why he won't be able to match or exceed those numbers. He looks as smooth as ever defensively, lasers all over the field, the speed's there, the arm's there. He's the best player in Major League Baseball unless Shohei Ohtani is pitching well. And that's not happening. So Bobby Witt Jr. is the best player in Major League Baseball. He's the best player on the planet. And I understand, I've heard the MVP voters explain to me why they cast their vote for Aaron Judge. And this is not a Kansas City bias. I think I do a pretty good job of divorcing myself from that when it comes to big picture things. Bobby Witt Jr. was the MVP last year. No, he didn't have the power or the park that Aaron Judge did, but nobody checked the 5-box. You want to throw leadership in there. You want to throw face of the franchise in there. You want to talk about mingling with fans and being a good steward for the game. Bobby checked all 8 boxes better than Aaron Judge. Judge does all the intangibles great power, but Bobby's the better runner, has the better arm, he's the better defender, and he hits. I think he's a more well-rounded hitter than Aaron Judge as well. So yes, he should be the favorite. You're the gambling guy though, Gold. I don't know if that's the smart play.
Well, definitely shop around because there's other books where he's not the favorite. So go ahead and bet him where he's not the favorite right now. How about that?
I like it. What's the longest odds we've seen on it?
I believe plus 480 instead of plus 270 when he's a favorite at least one spot. So
yeah, just quickly looking around, in this division. Guys that could win the division. You look at teams that can win the division. Jose Ramirez, Bobby Witt Jr., of course. Aaron Judge in New York. Baltimore with Gunnar Henderson. Does Boston have one? Is it Devers? Is it Bregman? Is it Duran? I don't think so. You look to the American League West and the Rangers, the Astros. Yordan Alvarez is a designated hitter. Yeah, Bobby, Judge, Jose Ramirez, it's the usual suspects in the American League. I don't know where the wise money would be. I guess it wouldn't be on one of the top 3. Maybe a Jarren Duran if the Boston Red Sox can get red hot. But then you're getting pretty far down the list. You're saying, okay, I'm fine with losing this money.
Yeah. We were talking about some of the long shot names. I don't hate a little flyer on Vlad Jr. because of the contract year, a little flyer maybe on Julio Rodriguez just because where he was 2 years ago, if you think he can get back to that. But, yeah, other than that, man, Bobby Witt Jr., I think this is the year. We had Cody Decker on yesterday as well. He thinks this is the year as well.
Julio Rodriguez put on a nice little show last night, taking both Michael Lorenzen and Chris Stratton Bridge last night.
Yeah, that is very true.
He's been a Royals killer, man. He hits Royals pitching fine.
Yes, he does. You are right about that.
All right, Vern, tonight we'll be listening to your Hot Stove Show, 6 o'clock. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
There you go. Vern's Hot Stove Show this evening, 6 o'clock here on your home for the Royals, 96.5 The Fan. He'll have some special guests. It sounds like he's going to try to catch up with Michael Lorenzen as well, maybe before the show tonight, and have that for you. And, of course, here in a couple weeks out at Hollywood Casino, Vern's got his roundtable right here on 96.5 The Fan. He'll be joined by Michael Massey, Kyle Isbell. That's Friday, March 28th. Out at Hollywood Casino. The event starts at 6 o'clock. Plus, there'll be a meet and greet afterwards with Massey and Isbell. Plus, everybody from the station will be out there as well. Up next, we get to the 1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. We'll talk about the Missouri Tigers, where that basketball program has shifted in the last week and a half to 2 weeks. What does it mean about their tournament future as well? Next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey, Missouri sports fans, I've got good news. Underdog is available to play in your state. This basketball season, as we know, basketball being Kansas City next week, you got a chance to use one of the leading sports apps, play in your state, and choose some lineups over there at Underdog. Doesn't matter whether it's college or the pros. You got lots of choices over there. For instance, you could say, well, I just saw Steph Curry go off About a week ago, maybe I like him to go higher than 25.5 points tonight. I do. Or you like Jalen Brunson to go maybe lower than 25.5 points. You can pick and pair those up together, multiple sports, whatever you want, over at Underdog. Create those entries, mix and match, and play with as little as $1. If we get everything right, maybe went up to 1,000 times your money. So yeah, you could turn $1 into $1,000 with your basketball knowledge. Download the Underdog app today and sign up using that promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock a special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with that promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P. Claim that special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon your first deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
March is officially here. Come enjoy some great basketball at The Other Place. With 5 area Kansas City locations, The Other Place is a one-of-a-kind game day experience with dine-and-only specials during every tournament game. Come stop by The Other Place, Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, Mission, and the newest one in Belton.
Are you in need of top-quality metal for your next project? Look no further than Metal by the Foot. Whether you're a DIY enthusiast, contractor, or business owner, Metal by the Foot has the perfect solution for you. Steel, aluminum, brass, and stainless. The Foot. Blue Demon Welding Supplies, filler rods, and wire. The Foot. Bronius Professional Welding Equipment, service and repairs. The Foot. Located in KC and Topeka. Online at metalbythefoot.com. When you need a piece of metal, remember, metal doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg, just the Foot.
What's up, guys? Could you benefit a little extra in the bedroom? We all could. Blue Chew can help. We know pro athletes train every single day to perform better on the field. What if you could perform better in the bedroom, no training required? That's right, I'm talking about Blue Chew. Your partner wants you to do whatever it takes to make your sex life better. Blue Chew's your secret weapon for the bedroom or wherever you decide to get it on. Turn oh no into oh yes with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is an online prescription service. Nobody visits the doctor, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. And if you don't like swallowing pills, that's no problem because Blue Chew's tablets are chewable. If you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com. Ready for a great offer? How about free? Go to BlueChew.com and get your first month free when you use our promo code KFNZ at checkout. Just pay $5 on shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code KFNZ to receive your first month free. And then you'll be ready to chew it and do it.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Go to 965thefan.com for the Fiery Hot Sevens contest, where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing, all thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery.
Hey, Royals fans, it's Vern. The Hot Stove Show is back every Thursday night at 6 o'clock from spring training all the way up until opening day. This is your home for Royals baseball, 96.5 The Fan, KFNZ, FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Get to the random question of the day here in about 8 minutes or so. You guys can always interact with us on the Jay Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. More random NFL news out of the league today, just some minor stuff as well. I guess the Bills are looking for a new punter. They just released their punter in the last couple of minutes. Cornier and Rappaport, he was due a big roster bonus, and so they decided to move on from him. We already discussed earlier today the Browns restructuring their deal with Deshaun Watson. We'll get back into some of the other news in the league. One that might impact the Chiefs more, which is Joey Bosa getting cut from the Chargers. Where does he end up? And then are the Chargers preparing for a big splash? Maybe it's a Myles Garrett trade, for example. That's coming up in just a bit.
Or Devontae Adams.
Yeah, could be a couple different pieces. Reports are he wants to be on the West Coast. Devontae Adams does. And go back out there. Remember, he went to school at Fresno State. He's a West Coast guy. So that would fit, that team in particular would fit that. I want to talk college basketball, though, a little while. We know the conference tournament that is next week here in Kansas City. Which is going to be an exciting week. The weather looks like it's shaping up to be beautiful for fans that are coming down to Kansas City.
That.
And, you know, I saw, we were talking before the show today, there was a media member out in, I think in Utah, who was upset that the tournament is not in Las Vegas. And the tweet that he put out was, Las Vegas was literally right there. It was decided that Kansas City and its blizzards was the most ideal location for a basketball tournament. A couple things with that tweet real quick. Number one, it's going to be 70s next week in Kansas City, so I don't know what blizzard he's talking about. Number two,
the blizzard conditions were a couple of days ago. This is the Midwest.
Number two, if we were going to have blizzard conditions, a majority of the Big 12 membership is in the Midwest in cold climates. That's kind of what we expect. Number three, the Big 12 tournament is the most successful conference tournament in terms of attendance of any of the Power 5, now Power 4, whatever you want to call it, conferences. Going to Vegas, like, you know, we love Vegas on this show.
I went 3 times last year. You went 4.
Yeah, we love Vegas. I can't wait to get back out to Las Vegas. It's not a good site for the Big 12 tournament. There's 4 other conference tournaments, I think at least, that take place at the same time. You get lost in the shuffle. It's not the main event. In Kansas City, the one event next week that everybody's talking about is what? The Big 12 tournament. That means the interest is high. The attention from local media is high. Iowa State fans, we know, come down to Kansas City and make a whole weekend out of it.
You get the best arena all to yourself.
It's just not even close. So this is a couple new Pac-12 media members coming to the Big 12 that they just wanted out west.
The Utahs and the BYU.
Yeah. Arizona schools, you know, they just want to drive up and go to... Sorry, you joined our conference because yours died. Can that be 4 point on 4 point?
Yeah.
Just as a reminder, your conference sucked and it died and you came begging for a handout. So you had somewhere to be. We took you in graciously. The Big 12 tournament's in Kansas City. Bad news. I know the Pac-12 one used to be in Las Vegas. I also just think that if you say that and you've never been here, then you don't actually appreciate how good of a job they do it. Between Power and Light, the area in Power and Light, the stage stuff, the everything that comes in part of this correlation, the outside setups, the arena itself being available, like that level of arena being available to you for the entirety of the tournament. I mean, they get good crowds. They do, like, it's big here. People take time off of work. We care about the Big 12 tournament.
The focus of the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, you know what it is? It's this thing called basketball for the basketball tournament. That is actually the priority, not anything else. That's what it should be, and it's why last year 128,000 people attended the tournament. The atmosphere, especially for the semifinals and the final, the championship game, are awesome. It's just, I guess, 118,000 people, not 128,000. The point being, it's considerably more than what Vegas is about to have next week. The Big Ten just moved their tournament. I don't want to be where everybody else is.
I don't want this thing in Dallas. I don't want it in Vegas. It does great here. It's important to note, and this is probably maybe small in this occasion. Brett Yormark, when he took over Big 12 commissioner, he came in here and he immediately was like, hey, look, I'm not saying, like, we got to look, I know people like Vegas. I know people he started saying it immediately. He was sowing the seeds of leaving. The second he saw a single Big 12 tournament executed in Kansas City, he signed an extension instead. He went, nope, it's staying here.
Yeah, because the attendance and the buy-in from everybody, the partners, the city. You're right. Last March, he officially announced that they extended the men's and women's basketball championship through 2031. So it's not going anywhere, at least for 6 years anyway, like even if they did change. So we don't have to worry about this Utah media member, but it annoys me because I get it. Everything's moving. The Super Bowls are in Vegas. Great, right? We were there. The College Football Championships are going to be there. Final Four's going there. Big events, I get it, for a big event. But for something that's still is a regional, it's a regional league. I know the Big 12 wants to be a national brand, but it's still a regional league. It makes sense to have it in Kansas City. Drew, you're going to be out there next week, I know, covering the tournament for the station a little bit. Cody, we've both been to the tournament before.
A billion times.
I've been to other conference tournaments.
Other than the Summit League, which, by the way, Ruse winners last night. In that 8-9 matchup, took it down.
They're an 8-9 matchup? That's how far they've...
Oh, boy.
There's a reason
they were the preseason favorites.
That's how far they've fallen?
It went bad. It went bad.
Oh, no.
But they did win last night. They did not go out in the first game of the Summit League tournament. They won easily last night,
Drew and I looked this up yesterday because before one of my FanDuel spots, UMKC was 40-1 to win the Summit League championship before last night's game. So they're probably down like 32-1 or something, Cody?
Okay.
It sounds like progress. A bet right there.
Moving on up. I told you, I'm still taking time off if they end up in the tournament.
Right.
They run
Good luck.
this thing.
Good luck.
They beat the number 1 seeded Omaha today at 6.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that.
Then we're cooking.
Meanwhile, in the SEC, their tournament will be in Nashville, which I have no doubt will be a blast too, because Nashville's a great city. But the Missouri Tigers are heading into this NCAA tournament, or at least the SEC tournament. We'll see what they do in Nashville. But the SEC tournament in the wrong direction right now. They're 1-3 in their last 4. They lost last night to a okay Oklahoma team, an 18-12 Oklahoma team.
A French team, kind of like the Vandy, but like I would say a game or two worse on the bubble.
96-84. They were down 13 at halftime, never recovered from that. They'll probably be ranked 20-something when the new rankings come out because they're 15th right now. And they have Kentucky still, I believe, coming up this weekend on their schedule, if I'm not mistaken. The Missouri Tigers, they will play Saturday at noon or whatever. So, look, they're not suddenly a terrible basketball team. But 2 weeks ago, we were discussing them like a potential to move up to a 3 line and therefore be positioned for a deep tourney run. They're making it way tougher on them. They're not going to have the double bye for their own conference tournament. So that automatically is a tough path to get to a semifinal in your conference tournament to better your seed. And now Lenardi's new bracketology today has them as the last number 5 seed. Some others have them as a 6. They're certainly trending towards more of a 6 seed. I think that's where they ultimately end up. But it's a reminder of how quickly things can change in college basketball. And right now, they got to get their defense shored up in order to be able to go on that run that we were just talking about 2 weeks ago.
That's what really matters, probably more than the rest of it. And I guess because of the conference they play in, they can right all of the stuff that went wrong here really fast. So beat Kentucky on Saturday, win a couple games in the SEC tournament, well, then you're right back to a comfortable probably last 4. You're right back to the 4 line maybe, or at least one of the top 5 seeds where there's a little bit of flexibility. But, man, lose to Kentucky and lose early in the SEC tournament because of how deep it is, and you're a 7. Like, I mean, this is the good news is for Missouri, is that they do still control all their fate on where it is. And you and I talked about the drop-off between 3, 4, 5, and 6 seed. You just keep dropping 10, 15 percentage points with each one after 4 at your chances to get to a Sweet 16. What I thought was Missouri's, kind of basement, in my opinion, what they should be expected maybe 2 weeks ago. The biggest concern is defensively. They can still score. I still like a lot of their offensive rotations. There's no reason to think they can't do that regularly. They shot kind of poorly in the first half last night, got them in a bad spot. But they're letting teams over the last 6 games shoot 53% against them and 40% from 3. And this is college basketball. They don't shoot even NBA levels. Yeah. So, I don't know what Dennis Gates needs to do in order to shore up some defensive rotations, but he's got to do something and do something in a hurry.
So right now, this can change based on results this weekend. But as it sits, this includes last night's loss. The Missouri would be the 6th seed. They would play on the 13th of March in the SEC tournament. They would play the winner as it sits right this second of the Arkansas-Oklahoma game. They just played Oklahoma last night. And then if they won to get to the quarterfinals, it projects currently for Missouri to then take on number 3 seeded Alabama, who they also beat earlier this year. So that's the current. The good news for them, path-wise, even as a 6th seed, although you're asking yourself to win a lot of games because of that, double bye, they would not have to play an Auburn, or the number 1 seed or even a Tennessee until a little bit later on, and they've already beat Alabama. So
they can pick up a couple of wins.
Could they get to the semis? Yeah, the path is still there. And by getting to the semis, I think that would lock them up as a number 5 seed. The only way they somehow become a 4 again, they would have to win the whole SEC tournament.
They get to the semis.
They have to win. I think they would have to win the SEC tournament to move up to a 4 seed in the NCAA now. I think they have a chance to lock themselves.
You could be a 4 if you're the last 5 now. Toughest conference in college basketball this year.
Do they win on Saturday? No, they got to win on Saturday too. Then I think
in that scenario, probably. But I think there's a way in which they don't have to win the whole SEC tournament. And they've played with the best of the SEC.
Oh, they beat Alabama and Florida.
They've beaten the best of the SEC. It's not even to say that they're not that quality of team. They are still better than Kansas. But if you're going to
they're about to be a very similar seed.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like don't let it slip away. You've been the better team the entire year. You're still the better team. But if you go to the NCAA tournament and you're a 6 and Kansas is a 7, well, then you're both at the same amount of risk of drawing some difficult 11 seed, some difficult, in Kansas's case, some difficult 10 seed where you could find problems in a hurry. And your second round matchup got infinitely harder and all the other stuff. It's like, I still think they should be able to get to the Sweet 16, but the way they're playing right now, it's just like they're just running into problems.
This is from Jerry Palm over at CBS. Here's the current matchups in the NCAA tournament. They have Missouri and Kansas both in the South region. All right, number 1 seed would be Auburn. They have the 2 seed in that region, Drew's Wisconsin Badgers.
That is a tough region. Oh my gosh.
The 7,
a blue blood, the number 1 team in the country.
The 7 seed would be Kansas in that bracket, taking on 10 seed Georgia. And then the winner of that would play Wisconsin most likely. They have Missouri. Iowa State is the 4. A&M is the 3. Missouri the 5 playing Liberty. Missouri would then play the winner of Iowa State High Point. Again, these matchups are
Iowa State's in the region too.
Yeah,
that's
Arizona, Drew.
What?
Loaded.
Drew, for your Wisconsin Badgers, you better hope that's not the way that bracket plays out.
Hopefully not. I think it would
the
be
team I'm going to talk myself into going on a really deep tournament run, like barring out. Like I actually think they might go on a run and win the Big 12 tournament next weekend. Not the NCAA, but Big 12, and then maybe BYU. I think that I might end up taking BYU to go on a deep tourney run even next week.
None of these complaints about Vegas. No one from Utah or
I don't know if it was a Utah writer or a BYU. I don't know if it was a Utah Utes beat writer or a BYU.
They're trying to get to Vegas so they can break all their rules. Oh
jeez.
Trying to break all their rules. Get all the caffeine.
Jeez.
Relax.
All right, let's get to the random question of the day.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew. Over on the text line, 913-586-7965. We can take your thoughts over on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook as well. We live stream the show on YouTube. Like, subscribe. You put it up there, you subscribe, then it'll pop up at the top of your feed. You'll see when we go live over here on 96.5 The Fan. Question I have today is about something I see every day on my drive in for the last week. Every day on my drive-in for the last week, somebody had a big tree fall a couple weeks back.
Oh, not recently, not with the storm this week.
No, a couple weeks back. Huge tree, massive tree. Somebody came by and cut that thing up, right? Into some either like ridiculously sized logs, but also just like, normal size the tree gets smaller. But it's all just been piled up in their yard. And for weeks, the sign has said, free wood with cash donation. What? So the question I have for you today is this genius?
No.
Is this exploitive? Like, what? How do we feel about this person's attempt to, one, get me to haul the trash out of their yard?
Yeah, smart.
This tree fell. They have to get rid of it. I thought that part was smart.
That part is smart.
But free wood, cash donations.
No, it's free. It's free.
I'm even smart enough to recognize that, Cody, after what I've done.
Good.
So I feel like,
cash
props
donations.
to them for trying to see if anybody would take the wood without having to pay to get it hauled away. Might as well try that for a couple days. Free woods with cash donations not going to fly. You know what someone also could do if they really want to? Cody could go out there at 3 o'clock in the morning and go grab a bunch of the firewood or whatever.
It says free.
And
I think legally they couldn't even stop me from taking it.
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to prove cash donations? I'm sorry, I put it over one of the stumps. Must have blown away. What a mystery. I think these people are trying to beg people to pay them for something they would have to pay for anyway.
Are they hoping you have to? Is there a QR code for Venmo? What are they? How are they supposed to? You're gonna go knock on their door and hand them a $20 bill? What are they?
It's right on the corner. It's just like this handmade sign that says "free wood for cash donations." Some of the size of the wood are the size of like an F-150. So it's like,
geez.
who is it? What? Who is it is planning on coming to this? Who's planning on grabbing this thing from you?
No, they need to hire a company.
Unless you're planning, they should like make tables for a living.
Yeah. Yeah, props them for trying to get rid of it, but the free part, I would just read the free part. If you want some firewood, Cody, for next winter, go ahead and grab a couple pieces.
I always like a couple pieces, but this is a good time. This is a good fire pit season because you get those 40, 45 degree nights, right? A hoodie and a little fire out there. I could use a little bit.
Here we go. Someone says, really common, they can't actually charge because the city won't let you at the curb. So, they're not allowed to charge. Well, then they just leave the sign. The sign just needs to say free wood then. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
free wood.
The tree fell down. You don't get to now try to you want the wood gone, obviously. You want this gone. And you would like me to pay you for the privilege of taking it out of your yard? Mm-hmm. Somebody says they know which one I'm talking about. They're like, none of those are fitting in your car. Some of them are so huge.
That's why they can't get rid of them. And it's an issue.
And that's why whatever the haul-away price was going to be was astronomical. So then offer it for free and hope someone takes a chainsaw and cuts a piece down.
They probably need to just cut it into smaller pieces anyway. Whoever cut their tree didn't really...
Well, I mean, it probably cost extra. If you've been tree removal is
outrageous.
Both expensive and, if you do want it, cut down into logs, it costs more money. If you want them to haul it away, it costs more money. If it racks up pretty quick. As you know, I had 2 trees fall.
A couple years ago.
In the time we've done this show, about a year apart, I had those 2 fall. And it's expensive every time. Just tree trimming is expensive. But, when the guy trims the tree, and it's if he trims, a whole limb off, I'm like, yeah, leave that thing in logs. I'll, make some use of it. I'm not trying to charge anybody outside the front of my yard. There's an apartment complex not far from me, and there were some tree limbs they had cut down that had been sitting there for a month. Some guy in an SUV the other day, swear to God, pulled up and he just looking around and went, just started loading the back of his car, and then took it away. It'd been sitting there a month. Nobody had done anything with it. This guy was just sweet, free wood, and just shoved it in the back of his car.
Why not?
Oh man, I didn't know if this person was being if this was a sad attempt and they should just put free. Do you think they should just put free?
I just wonder how long are they planning on leaving it out there, though? Until it's gone? That thing's going to be there for months.
Years. I don't. Unless you are making tables, I'm not sure you can
Text line already says they know what you're talking. It's been months already.
You'd need a flatbed, You need a flatbed truck to haul that off.
That's crazy. That's why it should be free, because you have to have specifications.
I was expecting Cody to come on this show and say he's about to make a brand new table out of this wood, and he's been working. He wants volunteers to help him.
I don't have materials to regularly make my own tables. I made one, and that's it.
That's what I'm saying.
Make a table for the Cody Gold garage sale.
Perfect.
And this one, the table would just be, I cut a giant section of this, put some lacquer on it, screw some legs to the bottom, and congratulations, you have a table. I don't like the way those epoxy tables look. I think they're kind of ugly.
Some are nicer than others.
I
know exactly what kind of table. Some are nicer than others.
Where they pour the epoxy into it.
Oh yeah.
I think they're kind of ugly.
Some are. I wouldn't want it for my dining room table. Let's put it that way.
What would you want it for then?
If you're I understand why some bars have it, right? Some bars and restaurants have it. I think it fits in a bar. So maybe if you have a man cave downstairs, it works. I wouldn't want it for my dining room table.
Okay. So you're okay. Or maybe it's a bar top.
Yeah.
I just don't like the way they look. They're always too high gloss. They always kind of look like, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't work for me.
You like your wood a little different.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Drew,
what about you?
In this scenario?
Yeah.
Would you pay this person if you took some of it?
No.
Like, let's say I just went into their yard and I snatched some. Would you pay?
Again.
I wouldn't pay.
Again, Cody.
No, I'm not paying.
I once paid somebody so they could take my couch. I am not doing this.
You didn't pay someone to take your couch away and haul it away. You paid someone to buy your couch.
Yeah,
your own couch.
No, that was what it was. Yes.
Because if it was just you're paying someone to haul away your old couch, we would get why you thought you were selling your couch. But yeah, okay.
Someone says from 903, reminds me of the St. Louis Zoo, which is free admission, but you have to pay for parking. Look, at least you don't have to pay for both. A lot of places I got to pay for parking and this.
True, very true. Every sporting event, basically.
It's probably cheaper, at least, to pay for the parking and then go into the zoo than it is to pay have
you gone to the KC Zoo since you moved here? You and your wife?
That was one of the first things that we did.
Oh, nice.
You've
been more recently than I
have.
You
do the penguin parade?
No, so we did not do that. We also the aquarium. It's right after the aquarium opened.
See, I still haven't been to the aquarium. I do want to do that.
It was. Of course, once it opens, that's the talk of the town. Everybody wants to go there. It was so packed. Tickets ran out. Like you couldn't get in there. So we just did the regular zoo, which is a good haul itself. It's very spread out. It's a good walk.
Unless you're taking the tram or
it's a good walk.
Unless you're taking the tram, man. That's
I still do want to see the new aquarium. I haven't made it out. I know it's been like 2 years since it's been open.
You haven't gone out and pet the stingrays and all that?
I haven't gone to the
Somebody's
new aquarium.
been begging us to do it. You says been begging you guys to do a show from out there, which would be
we got good connections over there. They'd probably let us do a show out there. But what are we doing? We're just like hanging out at the zoo?
We're just doing a show.
Cody and Gold Day at the zoo?
Yeah, basically.
Just do it in front of
Will
all
they
the
let me
elements.
pet one of, will they let me...
Can they bring a penguin by the set real quick?
Yeah, or will they let me, feed one of the animals they usually don't let people feed? Like a lion or something?
Just set up by all the elephants.
Let's get the video camera set up for that one.
For me feeding a lion?
I
guess I don't have many chances.
I guess
in my
when
life
it's cold
to feed a
out is
lion.
actually, even though the zoo, when it's cold out is a good time to go because there's a lot of the animals there that enjoy this way more than they do when it's 90 degrees, of course, outside. There's
As
a lot
soon as
of
it warms
animals.
up, I'm gonna have to go again because I'm a sucker for the zoo. Like if I could, because it's a far drive for me. It's like the opposite end of the freaking clock.
East side and
for
you're on
me,
the west side. Yeah,
Like
it is.
the zoo's at 4 o'clock. I'm at 11. Is the way that things are with me?
Careful.
But I would go more often.
Especially after the previous.
Especially after the wood conversation. You're the one talking about, you're out there talking
Then-
about Blue Chew. I mean, you got to be careful when you're talking about
Chew it
different
and do it.
directions. Yeah.
Someone just said this person with the woods got free advertisement from me. I just
He didn't say where exactly it's at.
It's in the Northland.
Go
and there's
find
a
it.
lot of it. Good
There's
luck.
Go pick a house and drive around. See if you find it.
See if you see the sign that says free wood cash donations. Also, is the donation for a charity or just for you? Because it's not a donation at that point. I'm just giving you money.
It's cash donation to the homeowner.
Yeah.
It's definitely what it is. Someone says, do it from the Buffalo Pen before the Bills game next year. We just
There you
show right outside the Buffalo Pen.
That's where.
But the people are going to be mean to the Buffalo because we're wanting to beat the Bills. It needs to be. I don't know. We can't do that.
We can't be mean to the animals.
It's the animal. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't do that. But I wouldn't mind doing a show from the zoo on a nice day. Not when it's 100
This
degrees.
show years ago tried to get the zoo to rename a monkey after George Karloftis. We want to name him Furious George.
Yes, we did.
They didn't.
An actual email was sent.
If you could have picked any other name, and you would have had a better chance at
I
it.
spoke to a director of a
Look,
department.
not
about
everything
that.
turns
Said
out.
The animals
we
like their
also-
names,
We tried to get a peacock in studio when the Chiefs were on Peacock for a playoff game, and everybody was freaking
That's
out
right.
about the game being on Peacock.
I didn't have an
We tried quite a bit actually, but we didn't want PETA to give us some problems. Which
That was also the recommendation of the farm that we.
yeah. Sure, people are wondering if you're gonna have any samples of what you're endorsing these days out at the party tomorrow night.
Sorry,
you don't carry them on you.
I don't have.
You
any on
already
me,
used them
no.
all, huh? Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. That's the random question of the day.
You can get free shipping, I think is what it says. So just order your own before Friday.
All right.
Just use the promo code.
That's
KFNZ.
That's exactly right. Up next, we will get to what's trending here on Cody and Gold, and let's try to figure out a little bit more about who could end up with more playing time on the Royals this year, plus a couple wide receivers that I want you to pick who you would actually want in Kansas City. Next.
You're listening to Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Josh Vernier joins the show every day at 12:45, live from spring training, right here on your home for Royals baseball, 96.5, The Fan.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and you've heard me talk a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But today I want to talk to you about your sex drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. It can even be a factor in erectile dysfunction, and if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low sex drive could really be a problem. The good news is that if you're like most guys, treating your low testosterone could really change the way you feel about sex, giving you back the flame and desire that is so important when you love someone. So if you're feeling sluggish and tired, if you're not sleeping well, if your workouts aren't that great, and most of all, if your sex drive is more like a putt, make an appointment at Heartland Men's Health and have your testosterone levels checked. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices, Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
The game tips off. The NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. So even if you missed the first few minutes of the game or you want to bet that amazing fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay for a shot in an even bigger payout. However you want to play, right now is the perfect time to join because new customers customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. Just remember my promo code KFNZ to get started today at your chance at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue with non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after street restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com. And I look forward to working with you.
Hi, this is Toby along with Jason Goodenkoff from Lewisburg Ford in Lewisburg, Kansas. Hi, Jason.
Hello, Toby.
Man, with all this bad weather, I need some good news.
Well, the good news here, we've got truck month at Lewisburg Ford, Toby. So until the end of March, we've got the best time of the year to buy new trucks at Lewisburg Ford.
What kind of money am I going to save?
You can save a ton of money, Toby. Our $50 over invoice pricing saves Kansas City thousands of dollars, up to $16,000 off a brand new 2024 F-150 Super Crew.
It's no wonder you have sold more F-150 Ford pickups in the greater Kansas City area for 8 years in a row.
That's right. Number one in the state of Kansas 4 years in a row, Toby. So we sell a lot of pickup trucks, and it's because of our price and our selection.
You sell a lot of vehicles, period.
Absolutely.
Yes. It is no games, no gimmicks, the absolute best place to buy a Ford car or truck. Now, how much off?
$16,000 off a top MSRP.
How long?
All the way till the end of March.
All right.
816-444-2300.
Or LewisburgFord.com.
Want a golf course quality lawn? It's easier and more affordable than you think with True Green. As the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, True Green brings pro-level expertise straight to your yard so your lawn can look like a fairway. Right now, you can sign up and get one free application. Plus, with their price match guarantee, you know you're getting the best value. And if you're not satisfied, True Green will come back to make it right. Don't wait. Visit TrueGreen.com today to get a free application and let the pros handle your lawn while you enjoy the results. Offer ends March 10th. Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
After you use Bounce Dryer Sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on your every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on it. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on it. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer Sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
For a limited time at Verizon, you can get our best price ever. That's 4 lines on unlimited welcome for just $25 a line per month with autopay plus taxes and fees. You'll also get the new iPhone 16 Pro, 4 of them for the entire family when you trade in up to 4 phones from our top brands. That's a new phone for everyone, only on the network you can count on. Verizon. Visit a store today. 20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply for phone offer. See Verizon.com for details.
Royals coverage sponsored by Renner Garage Door, forward and back, RENNER.
It's almost Andy Reid. The offseason is a perfect time for a $100 tune-up from Renner Garage Door. Get a free replacement quote today. Call or click rennerdoor.com, Renner forward and back.
RENNER. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries, land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Applied today at bakeru.edu. Some news around the NFL today. The Chargers cutting Joey Bosa, veteran defensive end, freeing up a considerable amount of money for their cap. Maybe this sets the stage for a bigger move for the Chargers. As far as Joey Bosa has struggled to stay healthy, there are some reports indicating that maybe he wants to play with his brother, who's Nick Bosa, of course, out in San Francisco. Also, Deshaun Watson restructured his deal to give the Browns $36 million in cap space this year. It'll still be an $81 million cap hit next year, $135 in dead cap also sitting there. Plus, the 49ers did inform defensive tackle Javon Hargrave that he will be released on the first day of the league year, which is next week. So he becomes a free agent.
He'll be an attractive target, too. A lot of available defensive tackles is probably why.
I wonder what he
the 49ers. Honestly, I still think it's a deep defensive tackle market. This hurts Turk Wharton's market because Hargrave will be out there. It's really deep. I think there's going to be a lot of one-year deals for defensive linemen in free agency.
That'd be good for the Chiefs, by the way, if that's actually what that ends up being.
We'll see if I'm right or not, but that's kind of the way I feel it's going to go. Next up on What's Trending, MU lost to Oklahoma last night, 84-96. K-State winners over Cincinnati, 54-49. Currently sitting in the 9th seed of the Big 12 tournament. Does K-State? They'll play their final regular season game against Iowa State this weekend.
Back to the NFL, former Chiefs center. He's been with the Jags here recently, but Mitch Morse announced his retirement from the NFL. Had a nice long career. He hit the key mark there to make sure he gets the long NFL pension, right, over 10 years in the league. He was a solid center for them. They just went cheaper at the time, and then they found their center of the future, Creed Humphrey, and they drafted him instead. And since then, they've signed an extension. Now, Mitch Morse, he's been in the league for a while, but he's still only 32. Yeah. He's had some concussion history. I'm sure that's part of the decision-making here. But 10 seasons, nearly 100 wins. His last team he played for was Jacksonville. He also was with Buffalo for a couple years. And, of course, played college football at Mizzou.
Super, super nice person. Really happy upon his retirement. Hope he enjoys it, you know? Next up on What's Trending, Russell Wilson, according to reports, is unlikely to land with the Las Vegas Raiders. Seemed like a potential landing spot. There were all the rumors that he tried to get Pete Carroll fired at the end of their time, so that would certainly put a little damper on that heat. That leaves them with really Sam Darnold, and Aaron Rodgers is available, veteran options, unless they want to start Carson Wentz.
Or Kirk Cousins, I guess.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins looks like
still technically isn't even a free agent.
And the Falcons may not end up actually trading him because of the cap hit either way that they're going to face, which would just make it really awkward, but they might end up holding on to him. Lastly, on What's Trending, the Oregon Ducks announced their head football coach and them, Dan Lanning, reached a new 6-year deal with a raise, $11 million salary each year. Will run for 6 years through the 2030 season. His buyout still remains at $20 million. He's only 38 years old. He's won a Big 10 championship in his first year in the league. They got the number 1 overall seed, and then they got beat up by Ohio State, who, of course, went on to win the national title.
He would be the 8th highest NFL head coach with that salary.
Look, it's well-deserved. Based on what he's been able to do. 35-6 in 3 years, I guess, there with the Oregon Ducks. That's What's Trending on Cody and Gold. So we mentioned a couple of the NFL names there. Before we get back to some baseball, think about some of the wide receivers that are out there on the open market or will be out there on the open market, and we've gone through the Hollywood Brown connection. Let me give you a couple names, and who would you pick, understanding the cost that comes with them? Christian Kirk, Hollywood Brown, Darius Slayton, Tyler Lockett. Who are you most interested in on that? 913-586-7965.
I told you earlier, and I think it's a monetary thing. I think my answer would be Darius Slayton. I'm not going to lie. He's the worst of the... He's at least worse than Hollywood Brown Christian Kirk right now. Although, again, I've pointed out before, he's been as productive as Hollywood Brown because he stays on the football field.
Yeah.
So, like, as a per catch and a yards per season thing, he's been just as effective as Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is the better player when healthy. That's kind of another reason why I lean Slayton, is that he's more likely to be on the field is a huge part of it. Kirk's the best wide receiver. If money were no issue and I could just sign whoever, I'd probably take the risk on him even though he's injured because he fits what they do well. And I don't think he's going to require more than a 2-year contract, maybe a 1-year deal. I think it's more likely it's 2 or 3 with like a fake year somewhere on there. But Slayton is cheap. I can use him as the number 2 wide receiver while I wait for Rashee Rice to come back from suspension. And then I can just run my normal offense after that. And he's a really nice 4. Like a comfortable veteran, get open, know what he's doing. I'm only keeping around here for a year, so I don't need to worry about age or the normal stuff. Outside of that, cool, that seems fine. Lockett just took too big of a drop off this year. I'm worried. I'm worried he's cooked. I don't know for sure, but I'm more worried about him. Otherwise, he could be an answer similar to Slayton.
So I agree that Christian Kirk is the better receiver out of the entire bunch, but I also don't want to give any free agent wide receiver this offseason more than a 1-year deal.
And you think Kirk's getting 2 or 3.
And I think there's a chance Hollywood only requires a 1. Now, if he requires a multi-year deal, they might be out of that sweepstakes. But there's enough veteran market out there that I don't know if he will. Hollywood Brown, we've gone through this a couple times, even in the season with Hollywood. Obviously, he didn't play very much this season. He got hurt in Jacksonville. They signed him for a reason last year. They clearly liked him. We had Brett Veach on the show. They were still giving him pretty high praise in what they believe he could be, plus the potential suspension for Rice, although you and I discussed earlier, there's a scenario where that doesn't even happen this year based on the timeline. Hollywood Brown knows the offense already. That's part of it. Like I don't want to be sitting here in September 3 weeks in while Rice maybe is on a suspension and we're asking Andy Reid on this press conference on Mondays that we carry and someone's asking, hey, how come you haven't been able to get Hollywood Brown going? Or Christian Kirk going, he's just trying to still get integrated, and get comfortable with Patrick. It takes some time, No, I want someone that can step in right away, and Hollywood Brown knows the offense. I can be patient for a rookie. Go draft a rookie, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Bring in Hollywood Brown for a year.
Like
draft
you were going to do unworthy.
Draft a rookie in the 2nd, 3rd round, whatever. That's fine with me. I don't need a 1st-round wide receiver. 2nd or 3rd round wide receiver pick again. They got 2 3rd-round picks, so one of those works. And then bring in Hollywood for 1 more year while Worthy continues to develop, get the Rice suspension potentially done with, and then most likely after next season you move on from Hollywood Brown. So that would be my answer. Text line 913-586-7965. Someone says Hollywood, going back to this knows the system thing. Someone else says Hollywood. Earlier in the show, someone alluded to they're willing to go and trade. That wasn't part of the game here, but trade for DK Metcalf. We were just going through some of the free agent names, but sure.
Take a third and $30 million a year, or $25 million a year, probably at minimum.
Yeah.
So I went back through because I was like, all right, let me have a legitimate. Let me remember what Hollywood Brown did. He had 2 games, 91 yards, no touchdowns in the regular season. He then played 3 more games for Kansas City in the playoffs. As we remember, he went 0 in the Houston game. Didn't really matter. They didn't need him.
Yeah, Kelsey went off.
He went 3 for 35 in the Buffalo game and 2 for 15 in Philly and another just like disaster. So he played 5 games for Kansas City and he amassed 142 yards. It's like, yeah, it's fine. And he knows the system, but it's like some of it is just like this continued hope of last year we're like, this is going to fit. And last year, it didn't look like it didn't fit at all.
He was hurt. I mean, we know the reason why the production wasn't there. He was hurt. He played in 5 games
when
and
he
missed
came back.
so much time.
He knew the system. He was comfortable in the system or whatever it was. Because I wonder what the balance is of knowing the system when you're learning it on a page and learning it in practice. And in practice, you only got 5 games. So is it the full amount of a guy's in your system and he knows it and it's worth the full 100%? Or in my case, I think him knowing the system might be worth 60% of regular. And I know that's a weird weighted system or inside of that. And so I guess I don't value it quite as much as you do. Not 0, but not the full amount as somebody who's just been playing here, I guess.
Yeah. Look, he's not going to cost much either. That's why I don't imagine. I don't want them to spend a lot of money on wide receiver this offseason, frankly, because of what they have with Rice and Worthy. They don't need to. They can allocate resources in a different direction and then worry about from there if they need to go pivot, next year after this year, if Travis does retire at that point, $19 million, you're not paying your tight end anymore? Okay. I'll either use that for an extension for somebody else or then I'll go make a bigger signing and see where things are at. This upcoming season, I don't want to have my tight end making $19 million and then go give a $30 million deal to DK Metcalf this year. And I know they can structure it to where DK's number wouldn't kick in big until the next year. I'm not a big fan of doing that in this circumstance right now where the Chiefs are at.
The only argument for it is that they're paying no wide receivers. Currently on the books, they have 3 wide receivers, and they're all making a combined $0, essentially. Like, I know it's more than that, but combined, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore. Is there another guy on the roster, technically?
Not technically, unless you go to the
contract,
futures
Justin
contract
Watson's
stuff.
not on a contract. Okay, so those 3 are making a combined, I don't know, $5 million this year. Like, they're not making any money. So, like, you can actually afford a wide receiver. Now, if you say all of our receivers combined and you toss in the $19 million, it's still nothing. $24 million for every single receiving weapon you have on the roster, and I guess 30 if you include Noah Gray as the second tight end. I mean, it's not. They have very little resources allocated to weapons around Patrick Mahomes from a financial perspective. They have plenty of resources because they spent a first and a second and paid Travis Kelce. But from a financial perspective, they have very little cash tied up in that. So one $30 million wide receiver wouldn't be crazy. But we also know that on the offensive line, up until they had traded Joe Thuney, they had like $96 million in cap tied up in the offensive line, which means they still got 80. Like, it's not like they got no money tied up. You know, they still got quite a bit tied up in the offensive line, which is where the money's going right now instead of wide receivers.
Let's pivot to baseball for a little bit, though. We had Vern on earlier, and we were talking about MJ Melendez, and he's looked good the last couple of days, obviously, which hopefully it's something that ultimately carries over. It gives more confidence with the new batting stance and swing and everything like that. Let's go through a few of these names and who you actually think plays the most games in 2025. So MJ Melendez, Michael Massey, Jonathan India, Maikel Garcia. These are all the names that we've combined because they're all playing different positions, except for MJ. He's playing left field, but Massey's playing some left, and India's maybe playing some left, and Maikel could be playing multiple positions this year as well. Who do you think plays the most games? And yeah, I think you have to factor in injury history with all these guys too. I think easily number one, we don't have to waste our time, Jonathan India is going to play the most games.
Even though technically Maikel Garcia's played the most games in a single season out of this whole group.
I mean, if you want to answer Maikel,
technically
go for
MJ Melendez has played pretty close. No, it's India.
Jonathan India is going to lead off for this team for 150.
I like to be the contrarian every once in a while, you know?
India is going to play 150 plus games for this team leading off. Number 2 for me, and this I think where we differ, I have MJ Melendez because he's going to get the first opportunity.
That's the safe answer.
He's going to get the most opportunities there in left field. And this is not just because he's hitting well the last 3 days. we'll believe it when I see it in the regular season. But I think he has the first opportunity to do that versus some other guys. You're still talking about them needing other things to happen, right? He also doesn't have an injury history. Then I would go with Michael Massey playing the most. And I actually think Garcia, I said it yesterday, is going to have a decent dip in some of his playing time. If MJ plays the way I think he has a chance to play this year, and India is going to play as much as I think, like somebody's going to have a decrease in games played. And I think it's going to be Garcia.
There's only 3 spots for these 4 guys.
And Massey's back. Hopefully it's not a problem, but like that's the reason why he's behind MJ for me, because that is still potentially a problem. It can flare up at any time, right? It's never going away. We've talked to him about this. It's always going to be there. Can he manage it and keep it loose, right? He's talked about he's using like, what do they call it? Like Eastern medicine or whatever, like different techniques and things like that to try to figure it out.
And he's been doing that for a while, and he thinks that maybe playing a little bit less, even if it's not 0, a little bit less second base could probably do that. The reason why, and look, I think Massey is interesting because the reason why I think it's Massey, even more than just like, and I understand the health thing, that's the biggest concern for why I would end up being wrong. That's why I said MJ's like the safe pick, because like if you just factor in health, that's likely the case. I think Massey, if he stays healthy, will play more. They're both left-handed bats. So Massey can still play over MJ in left. He can still play third base. He can still play second base. He has more chances to be on the field. If MJ is on the field, it is only in left field, and I think a little more limited to right-handed hitting, which is most of baseball. I'm not saying, like, obviously we know that there's way more righties than lefties, but Massey can also still be the left-handed bat in the lineup, and you can still have him in left field. So, like, I feel like he robs the most, and I think he just robs from a little bit of everybody. I think he gets plenty of games at second base, and they try to protect India a little bit, and then he steals a lot from Maikel at third, and he steals a lot from MJ in left, and that's just kind of taken down. I honestly think that those 3 will be pretty close.
Yo, yeah, they could be within like 8 to 10 games of each other.
I think it'll be like 145 for Jonathan India, and then I think it might very well end up being like 130, 120, 115, you know, if they all stay healthy, obviously in this scenario. I think it's very close, but I think there's a pretty good chance they do that. I'm fascinated to find out. This is easily one of the most interesting storylines for the Royals season, other than can they get back to the postseason, is how do they handle 4 guys for 3 spots? And that's before they make some random outfield pickup, like they tried with Duvall a couple of days ago, and he was too expensive. They make some random outfield pickup. It kind of feels like somebody else has to go.
Yeah, you got to warn me when you're going to say Duvall. You
Oh,
know,
sorry.
I just didn't have it ready.
You were prepared for me.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't expecting an Adam Duvall mention.
Adam Duvall. I actually shouldn't even just say it. And you know that guy who they could have signed, Adam Duvall. Him. That's how we should do it.
I just needed some. I need some more time. You know, I couldn't get it pulled up quick enough.
I wasn't planning
there.
on saying his name just now. I just happened to stumble upon it. In the conversation.
Tomorrow we'll talk more about it. There's still also the caveat with this entire discussion. Is there a name that gets thrown into this that's not even on the team yet at some point this year? Then it's all out of whack, right? Because
if you
tomorrow we'll talk.
Do you have to trade one of the other guys?
Well, so tomorrow I think we're gonna talk more about it. There's another rumor about a different outfielder that the Royals might be interested in, a team that has a crowded outfield. And would you be willing to part ways with what it sounds like a team wants? To weaken another area. Are they at that point yet? I think they're at a point where they're willing to roll with these guys for now. Now, if there's issues 2 months in the season, does it force your hand if you're JJ Picollo? We can get into that a little bit more tomorrow.
Or do you go back down the same road you did last year and you just add all the DeYoungs and whoever of the world? And, look, that happens a lot in playoff runs. It just depends. I think Vern actually made a good point on it the other day, which is at what point is just being in the playoffs not enough for John Sherman, and does he take a big bite at the apple? Like he's like, you know what? Here you guys are thinking about making a big move at the deadline. Do it.
Yeah.
Swing huge. Don't just make these moves that we have been making. Take a real chance. Take on some salary. Let's make this team as good as it possibly could be. It puts a lot more pressure on the team to win and to win right away. But like those guys, this trio of guys, it's really interesting. I just don't think you trade your 4th starter in the rotation, a guy who started 30 games for you last year, if your plan is not to play a guy who would have been 20th in baseball on base percentage all of last year for a team who had trouble getting on base. There is no way you make that trade, and Jonathan India is not your plan to play as many games as he is capable of getting on the field. As many games as possible for India, Bobby, Vinny, and Salvi. Those guys will be in the lineup. The 4 most played players, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 155 games for Jonathan India. Whatever off day.
154 is his highest, so probably in that range. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's someone on the text line. It's a fair question. This is the risk, right? Is that I think these guys from the 6-2-0, I think these guys playing out of position is not going to turn out very well this season. There might be a moment or two, especially early, where like, oh boy, he can't be playing left field that much because pick your player out of this bunch, Massey or India or Michael. Let's say they're quote unquote out of position. Yeah, I mean it took a while for MJ Melendez, and he's a hell of an athlete, to get to this point defensively where he's at. Asking Michael Massey to do it. I mean, yeah, there could be some adventurous routes out there. I think that's fair to say, especially in April, and that's something that if it starts to cost you something. In the middle of a playoff push, or a team that's trying to get out to a nice start finally in April and not run away with the division, but give themselves some cushion and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's something we're all going to be watching, I think, in the first month or so. Are they sacrificing too much defense? Is the bat worth it? That doesn't matter, right? That's the risk.
By the way, that's the one thing we didn't mention in any of this. Who's going to play more? Is the better defensive left fielder out of any of the options is MJ Melendez.
No question.
And the better defensive third baseman is Michael Garcia. Massey's hurt, but Massey is the better short second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
He is the better second baseman defensively, but that's not going to,
the bat. Yeah. When your offense was what it was a year ago, and yes, you should get more guys on base, Jonathan India in front of Bobby, which hopefully will lead to more RBI and yada yada, but there's still a big question of, do they have enough on offense? And this is their way of trying to manufacture more offense, keeping guys in the
keeping
lineup,
guys whose bat they like,
even if it's
like
out of position.
I have long advocated for, you guys have done nothing but say, we need defense and base running with a lot of losing seasons. No offense, but you've tried to build on defense and base running a bunch and had a lot of losing seasons in between. Are you sure you don't want to just slug? Sure you don't want to just put the ball over the wall? Earlier, by the way, we had Vernon. I went ahead. He made me. He didn't make me, but I couldn't help it. I looked up how many sack flies Vinny had last year and what the Major League Baseball record was. Vinnie Pasquantino led all of Major League Baseball last year, even though he missed the last, 6 weeks of the season, Gold? Something like that? Month of the season?
Yeah, it was like late August, I think, is when the injury
Okay, so
happened.
5 weeks.
Right?
He missed the last 5 weeks of the season. He led all of Major League Baseball in sack flies with 13. The Major League Baseball record is 19. Not far off. Pretty good effort there by Vinny. Sack fly machine. Takes great pride in it, to my understanding.
I was trying to find the exact date. Sorry. September 2nd.
Oh, okay, so a month. 4
August 30th is when it actually happened. So whatever.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's fine.
He was at that time it was a 6 to 8 week timeline. And then remember he was back. I know he didn't have the performance he hoped in the playoffs, but the fact that he was in the lineup
Worked his ass off to
was
try to even
unbelievable.
get in the lineup.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was that was an amazing part that he even was available.
He knew they needed him, and they did. Like the offense.
Well, that team
after he
for
left,
that team for I mean, not even just like literally on that whole team had the wind and air just taken out of them for a week because of that fluke injury and Urseg and them running into each other.
and they blew a game. Like it was like they blew an uncommon game that Urseg had been absolutely locking down under every other circumstance. Ball goes wide, Vinny comes down, thumb gets broken. You're like, right before the playoffs. It felt like, I'm sure, a kick in the stomach to pretty much anybody inside that clubhouse. But whew, at least they recovered. Made the postseason, won a series. I know it's not perfect. That's a hell of a year for what we were expecting going into it.
Yeah, now the bar's raised, man. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
That's the reality of how we will judge and talk about this team this year and how fans are going to view them. It's not just about just improve on a 70 win season or a 68 win season. It's taken a jump from 86 to can you get to 88 to 90 to win the division? There's a lot of people that believe because these teams all dominated the AL Central White Sox that you look at the numbers and it's like, okay, are you going to really have 3 teams come out again? What if the White Sox are a tad bit better? Where are you finding those other wins? That's a real conversation throughout the season. I'm sure we'll have. The Royals lost one time to the White Sox.
Yeah, once I think 12-1.
That's a lot of wins you got from them. So there's a good chance that's not happening again. They're not going to be. I'm not saying the White Sox are going to be good, but they're probably not going to.
on 9.
They're probably not.
not.
The White Sox might lose
12.
102. They may not. They may not lose 122 or whatever
Probably
it was,
not
or
the worst team
120.
in baseball again. Well, probably not the worst team in baseball history again.
Yeah, they still could be the worst team.
Worst team in baseball. That's why I revised.
It could still be the case. All right, we're back at it tomorrow. It is a Friday edition of the show. We'll have a Fan Club Friday. We'll have our friends from Sazerac stopping by as we'll lead into our event at Kelly's tomorrow night. More on that tomorrow on the show. We'll also, once again, check in with Josh Vernier out in Arizona. He's got his hot stove show tonight at 6 o'clock. Up next, C-Dot, Rob on the Drive.